How is it that we didn't get that information sooner?
Well, I will. I'm going to take that out soon. We had a meeting yesterday at 2 o'clock.
I was here till 5:05
So,
for, we started.
Always recording. It tolls for thee. Thee?
All set?
Okay, this is the Board of Selectmen meeting at the New Durham Town Hall. And it's Monday, November 28th, 2016. Whoops, wait a minute, I got the wrong notes.
Oh, it was 28.
Yep, November 28th. It's now 7 o'clock.
Do you need this?
And to my right is,
To your right is David Swenson.
and I am David Bickford.
I'm Gregory Anthony's.
And Scott Kidman, Town Administrator.
So I will call the meeting to order and ask for any, I don't think we have an appointment, do we?
No.
That's regular, okay. Public input, do we have any public input? Dot Vizel, you were first to have your hand up.
okay, I'll be quick though. I'm just bringing a question from several residents to the board. And I've had several people ask me why one of the fire trucks was at the Middleton Town Hall putting up their town lights, their Christmas lights. Why that asset was out of town, and are you aware of that?
No, I'm not aware.
I didn't personally see it. I am bringing this secondhand from 3 people who did see it.
Okay. So you said you had some people, some residents,
Just
or just
said,
you?
please ask the board why our fire truck was in Middletown. They're not in on mutual aid. They were just concerned that that asset was out of town and not available to residents.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, Scott, you can inquire about that, I guess. That's an issue. Somebody else? Yes, sir.
Yes, I have a question.
Your name and,
Okay, Bill Kendrick,
address.
Gertrude Lane.
Yep.
I've been noticing for some time now, quite a while, and it's kind of a small matter, but when the flag's flying out at night, there's no light shining on it according to code and ethics for flying the flag.
Oh, there.
And it's been like that for many years, and I think it's kind of disrespectful to what it stands for. And, we shouldn't worship it or anything, but it means a lot to a lot of people in certain many ways. And I know there's some budget concerns on expenditure money, but I feel the town can spend a few bucks to bring this up to code and just have a light shining on it. You can go right down to the school, they do it. So my concern is if they can do it, why can't we?
Okay. There's another flag too that's kept, I think, up at the cemetery, isn't it?
Pardon?
At the cemetery, is there a flag
I
over there?
have no idea. I haven't been up there.
Okay, so
I'm
it's
just
just the
always-
one here at the town hall that you're,
That's the only one that I see to my
and
knowledge.
as far as you know, it's the light on the flag is the issue.
You're supposed to have a light shining on the flag, not around it, but on it according to, there's no written laws. But if you look at the, any codes or ethics on flying the flag, you're supposed to have a light
Yep.
shining on it.
Okay,
And I'm sure if you can go to any steakhouse in the country, and I'm sure they do it if they, in fact, I'll even probably guarantee they do it.
yep,
And so if they can do it, why can't we?
well, we'll have to find out.
Okay, thank you.
We could do. Well, thank you. Anyone else? All right, then I'll close public input, and we'll move on to agenda review. Does anyone have anything on agenda review?
The only thing that I have is, I didn't put it on there, was the Boston Cane presentation. What? Boston Cane presentation on December 4th at the senior holiday luncheon at the school. I didn't know if there was a board member or board members that would like to do that presentation. I'm not sure if the recipient can be there herself due to her, but her family would be able to be there to receive the as far as the presentation itself.
I'm there as part of the volunteer staff, so I'll be there for that.
Okay.
I can add something to that, Scott. I went down and asked them about that, whether she would be able to come or not, and they said that she was pretty much under hospice care now, and she would not be able to come.
So probably David would come?
Sorry?
So probably David would come?
I'm not sure. I talked to David about his mother, and he didn't indicate whether he was coming or not, but I can certainly put that out there. They said that she would not be able to.
Yeah. Dot?
We've been told that several of the family would be there. They
Oh.
didn't give us names, but they did call in and ours.
They did say they would.
Yes.
All right, that's close enough. Yeah, and I hope to be there, but even Kathy's done it, I think, in the past. Haven't you, Kathy?
I did it last year because of the changes in the venue and all of that occurred. But it is stipulated that it is a performance and a function that the Board of Selectmen do, so I'm trying to get it back to that, to be one of the selectmen that makes the presentation. I will ensure the cane is there and set up a little display as I have in the past. But I wanted to ensure that you gentlemen had an opportunity to either say yes or no.
Yeah, well, one of us will be there.
If you
Yeah.
are not able to do that, I would be more than happy to fill in.
I think one of us will be there.
Well,
If
so
not
I'll be
all.
there as part of the volunteer staff anyway.
All right, what else you got?
Nope,
Scott?
that's the only thing that,
Under administrative or under?
no, just on the, under the agenda review.
Yeah, okay. And you said you didn't have anything, Swens?
No, and I have some other budget accounts and what Scott had listed in his report, but we'll cover that. It's
Yeah.
not really, it's already covered in our general term budget reviews, so.
All right,
I'm
you're all
fine.
set, okay. We move on to department reports, if anybody has a department report, I don't see any. You're here for a department report? Okay. That was Kathy.
Well, yes,
Allen.
actually, sure.
Oh.
We have our huge open house
Why don't
holiday
you come up
party.
here, Kathy?
Yeah.
You can announce,
It's-
you got
it's-
something you want to announce?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, stand right up. so-
Oh, stand right up.
We even got a podium actually for you if you want.
Yeah, the open house, our
Which is
friends
fun.
of the library, it's their annual holiday party. And it is this Friday afternoon. It starts at 3:30 and goes until 5. But the big news for adult-type people who aren't necessarily awaiting the arrival of a very, important personage dressed in red, is the raffle that they've got. We've got literally we've got about 37 or 38 items to be raffled off. You do not have to be present to win. And it's $5 for an arm's length, with a minimum of 12, a maximum of 16 tickets. So it's a really good price. We've got, gift certificates to really good places, hair salon, gift certificates, tickets to theater around the area. So, you should support a really great group.
Thank
How's
you.
that?
That's great.
What's the date?
It's this Friday.
Which is?
I don't know, the
Second.
second, or the second?
Second.
Second, third, whatever that
Second.
Friday is. Yep, and,
12 December.
yes. And like I say, you don't have to be present to win, which is always a good thing. You can get the raffle tickets from us at the library, or from friends of the library, but the smartest thing would be to come to the library, get the tickets. So I hope to see you all there.
Thank you.
All right, Scott, you're on. Town administrator. Anything for
Well,
us?
You've got my narrative as to what's been going on.
Yeah?
That way, as far as regular business from last week, and everything else is pretty much business items here for new business, old business, and lots of minutes.
Okay. I have a couple of things I want to bring up to you, or the board, actually. And that is, during the wintertime, in the past, we've been told that it might be wise if we wanted to close the Stoppage Corner Road. Because the new.
The what?
For new, winter maintenance, is what I'm talking about here. And in the past, road agents have told us that we might want to consider those sort of things. In fact, they've gone beyond and said we might want to consider closing that road indefinitely and just mining the gravel out from under the road. But I did want to bring it up during the season, so if you want to speak to the Public Works Director about looking into these things, it would cut off, I don't know, I looked at that, and the other one is Cameron Road. There's one house on Cameron Road down on the north end, towards the north end, but you take from that house driveway back to the Ridge Road, and you take Stockbridge Corner Road, and you come to a mile of road that would need to be maintained. I'm not even sure why we do. Because I know sometimes it's easier to go straight through than it is to turn around, but I thought those would be a couple things that we could get some feedback on.
So both Stockbridge Corner Road and Cameron?
Those are the two that come to my mind, and the Stockbridge Corner has been brought up a number of times in the past as a possibility. So if we could keep these things on our mind and pass them down as we change, you know, the torches change, but those are things that the new fellow should be aware of, that has been talked about in the past, and we may want to consider in the future. But now's the time to consider it.
While we're discussing, maybe I should have said something about the agenda. I think we should talk about, once again, what we did for the residents as far as dropping the tax rate for the municipality.
Okay, do you mind, Swens?
If you want to add it to budget, to agenda item.
Do you want to add it to an agenda item?
Sure.
Okay, how about,
Budget review.
how about just before we get to budget review?
Okay.
Okay, G1.
G1. And do we want to discuss
I think we will when we get into the budget.
okay,
If we don't bring it up then.
this is the Primex,
Oh, that's part of the budget account review, yeah. That's part of the budget account review.
okay.
All right, so the first thing on our agenda is the solid waste facility disposal bid award.
Yep.
Let me, just before I go, let me take a look. We've got people here for something. Was Kathy here for something? Or?
See.
Okay, and we've got this Kathy Wolowitz here. I'm just thinking about taking them first.
That's
So
fine.
and we've got Clayton's, Randall.
It looks like I might be next on their thing anyway.
Though you hang around for the whole meeting anyway.
Temporary easement.
Yeah.
I'm the temporary easement guy.
Yeah, but Kathy, I know she works for a living.
No, that's
But I
BMC.
would be staying out of interest for the bid for the solid waste, so
Oh, so you don't mind that?
no, I don't.
Okay, I was
Thank you.
just a courtesy.
ABC anyway.
Thank you.
All right, then we'll go with the agenda as it is.
Okay. So you have in your packet, put together a staff report for you that kind of breaks down the evolution that occurred relative to the bid process this fall here for the solid waste disposal contract, which expires at the end of this year. The next contract is recommended for a period of 3 years by the Public Works Director and staff.
Is that what, excuse me, is that what we've done in the past?
The
3
last
year?
contract was a 3-year
Also.
contract. I've seen them classically be anywhere between 3 to 5 years.
Okay, so this is not unnormal,
No.
out of the norm. And then, numbers that we had the last 3 years, how do they stack up to the 2017, 2017? Difference between 2016 and 2017 and so
Well-
forth. Do you have a percentage of amounts?
Well, I mean, historically, there have been, we've seen some increases occur, and it's most of the
Right.
increases have occurred in transportation costs. And that's what classically we've seen. In this situation here, with putting it back out to bid, we did
pick up
see
that.
it, we did see some shift. So we had a little bit more competitiveness there. So they've dropped the price back so they could hopefully stay in
Oh, good.
the mix of things, but you do see it escalate through the 3-year process, which classically you see between 3 and 5% annually in these contracts. That's what I've seen. Generally, most of them will cap out at 5, as far as on an escalator here. So in this situation here, they've actually come back, the low bidder, we've had some discussions with, and he has fixed the cost, which is at about a 2.2% increase annually going up through. So he has fixed the cost for the tonnage disposal, and he has done a fixed cost for the transportation as well on that. And I believe the escalator that you'll see is on those there is 2.2 on the disposal, and I think it was I think when you average them out, it comes out to about close to 2.5 on the multi-year. So
I mean, just to answer the question, excluding hauls, I don't call the haul number, but I think the cost per ton is maybe in the 3 to 4% plus increase from the last 3 years.
currently,
Goes from 66, 68, depending on which.
yeah,
So it's anywhere from 1 to 3%, 1 to 4%, something like that.
correct. Yeah. The, a couple things, just for the public's interest as well, was that we did solicit pricing for also disposal of our recyclables. This also is our solid waste disposal and our construction and demolition disposal. We did obtain pricing for single stream or zero sort disposal as well, and basically factored all of those together. After the analysis, the recommendation from the folks at Public Works was to go with a vendor to handle the MSW or solid waste disposal and the C&D disposal, and to market and work with the Northeast Resource Recovery Association, NRRA, which is a New Hampshire-based company to help municipalities, nonprofits, and other corporate, I'm sorry, not corporate, but municipalities, group municipalities, to dispose of recyclables. So they find markets for them and work out the rates for transportation and recycling. So basically, after it's all said and done, things shake out. With the disposal and working through them, we will actually come out on the plus versus being at a negative. It's not a lot, but it does offset. It does offset.
That's for the portion of recyclables only.
That's for recyclables only. That's for commingled plastics. It's for the paper, cardboard, and also aluminum cans.
And tin, or do
Tin right now is going into, they're actually compacting that and putting it in with the light metal. So
really?
they've been able to do that because really there isn't a market right now for metal. It's actually the market's gone down in that area. And they will work towards working with a metal vendor that'll do both non-ferrous and ferrous metals so that you can hopefully get a little bit better pricing with that. Vendors now will bring you a container and allow you to separate it. It does require your staff to be a little bit more diligent as far as watching and working with folks there to help sort that in doing that. Glass disposal still costs you for glass disposal, but they are recycling it in Wakefield by crushing it and using it as an aggregate base, which we may be able to take advantage of.
And with the tin cans, they crush those or just in the bin?
The tin cans right now, what they're doing is they're running them over or flattening them out, and then they're scraping them
Oh,
up.
scrape out and then putting them
And
over
then
on
they
the
put them
pile.
over into the dumpster there for that. So I've given you the prices here. Now, once again, these are based on a 3-year average of our disposals. So there is some fluctuation that could occur based upon your tonnage rates of disposal. So,
Because of that, Scott, I thought you wrote out what I proposed a motion for us, and I didn't think that the estimated totals would be the right thing to put in there. that we just agree to take the contract. Isn't that what we generally do?
You could, I guess, if you didn't want to use those numbers, the end numbers,
Yeah.
I would recommend that you use the numbers based upon the cost per ton
And
of
haul.
disposal for each commodity, and also the haul price, because those will be fixed. And then the only fluctuation that you'll end up having is your actual amounts of disposal. So,
So
some
the-
people end up taking the top number, and they may say that, you know, contingent upon, and I didn't put that in there, but contingent upon the, yeah, I did write in there about with an estimated annual.
If you, yeah, if you use a per ton price, I think the wording should be not to exceed.
Yes, on those
If you
dollar.
use the total, the
Sure.
estimate's okay. It
Yeah.
reads okay with the estimate because you have the word estimate
Yeah.
in there. It's not a, you know, not a fixed number, it's an estimate. But if you do change that to a per ton price, I would suggest that wording should be not to exceed.
Yeah,
Well, I think I'd agree with that, Dave. Just, you know, put those two figures and take out the estimated amounts. What do you think?
Yeah.
Or just add to it, you know, whatever you want to do.
Let's try this then. Motion, I'll make a motion to authorize the chairman to sign a bid award and related contract documents for the solid waste disposal contract with Casella Waste Management of Massachusetts Incorporated for a period of 3 years. The contract being for 2017 MSW and C&D disposal not to exceed $69 per ton and $165 per haul. 2018 MSW and C&D disposal, $70.50, not to exceed $70.50 per ton and $170 per haul. And further, 2019 MSW and C&D disposal not to exceed $72 per ton and $175 per haul. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, Greg seconds it. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, that's unanimous.
I did do a purchase order, so we'll have to, I'll just pull that out of here, we don't need that. And then,
Yeah, we don't need that, right?
no, and I'll send these over for your signature.
It's a cheaper size, I believe.
Just want to make sure that I had it written out. Put those rates in there. Yes, and I did, in the contract award, it does have that spelled out as far as those
Tonnage and.
tonnage and the dollar amount rates.
Okay.
Chairman's signature, just one signature on it.
Yeah.
You signed the purchase order too?
The what?
You signed the purchase order?
I'm just gonna, I'm just
No,
gonna write those
I'm on it.
amounts in there.
Do we need a purchase order on the contract?
I don't think you do, I think the contract serves it, but,
Yeah.
I think for internal,
but
Stop it.
I'm just
I'd
gonna
like
put,
to see
I'm
it.
just gonna
It's a
put it
3-year
in.
thing is what I'm
yeah.
thinking. Whatever help you.
Internal controls, I think I'd like to see it.
Who?
Internal controls.
Oh.
For.
sign it if you want.
You want all of us to sign this?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay,
Takes care of that, doesn't it?
it does.
Good.
So.
That's a big one. Now, we've got Clayton Randall. You have a request for the board. Why don't you come right up, and if you don't mind, use that podium, and put your papers on if you want.
I think Scott has given you people a tax map, and my request is to have, actually, my forester has requested to bring the logs out on the town property. And if you're looking at that map, where that square box is roughly where it would want to come out. And if you're down to the landfill, it would be directly in back or to the right of the brush pile. I own all of that land behind there. That Phillips and the old Christopher resident comes up kind of a wedge,
Yep.
as that shows there, and it would be somewhere in the vicinity of the brush pile or to the right of the brush pile. There are some logs on there. The forester said that if the town is agreeable wherever they decide to put the landing, the logs would be scaled and the check given to the town.
What's on the boundary line? Is
What's
there any-
on the boundary line?
Yeah,
There's
is
just a
there-
pipe there, just a pipe.
Oh,
What do
okay.
you mean by
There's
what's
no
on the
barbed
boundary?
wire
There's no barbed wire or anything.
or any fencing, right?
No.
So you can just pass without disturbing anything?
Right, but I know where the post is, where it all comes into a
Okay.
wedge and everything beyond that down to the Drew development, I also own, with the exception of a piece the town still owns in there. So anything,
Yeah.
pretty much to the right of that brush pile, a landing could be made and the stuff brought out.
Yep.
He is
Yeah.
willing to obviously give certificate of insurance and all that. It would be all done by a forester.
Who's your forester?
Dave Delaire out of Rochester.
Oh, Delay, that's D,
Delaire.
right?
Dalliare or something like that.
Yeah.
He would, what I can have him do is when he picks up the intent to cut, he can see Scott for the necessary paperwork, if that's the appropriate way to do it or whatever. I need some direction there.
If I remember right, that's all good, sandy soil, there's
It comes
no,
up out of the swamp, up on the
yeah,
yellow
but once it comes
section.
out, it's pretty firm,
Right, it's all firm on the top side.
yeah.
Is it flat there? I thought there was some, it slopes down.
Well, if you go from where your land, where the town's lands is to mine, it starts sloping into the swamp. So they're gonna bring it up onto rigid ground.
No, I meant, as you come out along the property line, is that flat or is that sloping?
No, it's flat. I mean, there'll have to be a little work done with the excavator, with the skidder, but I mean, it's nothing major.
And I
That
had
would
a,
all be done through the Public Works Director anyway.
I had a question. You have frontage there on Tash Road quite a bit.
What are you talking about? On Tash Road itself?
Yeah.
You're absolutely correct, but it's, the forester felt that wouldn't have to go through a driveway permit or anything. And there'd be plenty of access and it wouldn't bother anybody to come out by the brush pile. That's totally up to you, you're right. I've got an alternative way if you don't see fit, but, he didn't think there would be any problem with, the town doing that. Unless you have a reason for it.
Well, I'm not sure why we're getting involved with this if you have such a large amount of frontage on Tash Road.
Only because I wouldn't have to get a driveway easement or anything. I'd have to get a temporary easement to bring the logs out to Tash Road.
You just have to go to the public works guy and ask him, that's all.
I know, that's just what my forester asked. He thought that would be the better way of doing it, wouldn't tie up traffic, or whatever. So I'm just bringing that forth from him.
I don't have a problem with this myself. The only thing, that, Scott, you put together a motion for it, but I don't think now's the time. I think what we should do is have the easement brought to the board to vote on the easement itself. I don't know what the other board members think. Swen's,
Well, when you
Well,
say
just
easement
not-
brought,
not sure
you talking
when it's
about
gonna start.
some sort of a
Sometime
specific
before.
form? Or are you talking about, I mean, I would view this as the easement request.
Yeah, I mean, I can give you, this
So
is
there's
just
some
a
specific
sample,
form that you're looking for.
this is a sample of what we use in.
Well,
I view this as
I'll
the
look
easement
at it.
request.
well, there's a request.
These are the conditions of the
This is
easement.
what I used in Marlboro, just a sample of.
Yes,
agreement.
I'm just saying we should vote on the,
Well, I think he was kind of hoping that
It's
he
fairly-
would take care of
it's fairly simple, but you usually go through the forest. At least I've done it, I did it for Hoover recently, and I just gave permission to the forester who was in charge. And I just did it on email, actually. And he wrote me and said, well, this is all you have to do.
But was it town land involved? That's why he's coming to you, coming to the
Well,
board.
it amounts to the same thing.
Yeah.
What's this here?
This is just this is what I use in Marlboro to do a very similar situation there, a temporary right-of-way agreement that we used there for a logger who was logging in a property that was behind the highway department there, and basically just drafted up what the terms and conditions were relative to the access point. I talked about a 15-foot roadway, and that, you know, if there was anything cut, just like we talked about, Clayton and I, and he just expressed to you that if he cut anything, that the stumpage would be, you know, brought to you. Certificates of insurance are listed in the agreement itself, and, you know, that the best management practices as far as in the harvesting of timber and erosion control and all that stuff would be used in and around the town property there, and that they put it back to, you know, acceptable condition afterwards.
And to answer Greg's question a little bit better, there'd be no possible damage to the edge of the road with the trucks and stuff would be coming out with large loads if it comes off on the town property.
Why would that be any different than your
I'm saying,
access?
if those trucks that are gonna have large loads on them, they're gonna come out and possibly damage the edge of the road.
Yeah, but Greg's asking, how does that, both of them look like they're along Tash Road. How does it differ between if it comes
Nothing.
off your driveway or off this?
It's not on Tash Road, it's on the landfill property.
Yeah, so it would be coming out through the.
Right, it'll be coming out through the landfill.
Well, the map is a little off because it shows an arrow coming out over by
Yeah,
the bank, and
that's why,
that's where
yeah.
it's-
Oh, okay.
that's why it has
I
to
just
come
assumed
out.
you wouldn't wanna go that way.
No, it would come out,
You come right up,
That answers the question. Yeah,
Right.
come out.
come up the same way the other trucks go.
Wasn't clear from the
That's
map.
right, the same way
Wasn't
the
clear
other
from the
trucks
map
go.
how
Wait a
that.
minute, it would go through the highway department?
that's right,
Well,
So you'd pick it up behind,
behind, out by the brush pile, you know where you put your brush?
yes, I do.
It'd be out in that section out there is where the landing would be. They would load the trucks out there and bring them out through the highway department, that's correct.
And that's blacktop. And we have our own trucks coming and going during that period of time.
I mean, it's either a yes or no question as far as I'm concerned. You know, you don't have to make an issue of it.
The only thing that I don't really have a problem either, as David had said, but the only thing that I don't see here is that I see this a temporary easement, which for me means that you should have a sunset term. That is, this would be an easement till
X date.
Till spring.
Yeah,
is
well,
when
you
we-
did, yeah, so this
We don't
one should
have
have some
any
sort of
problem
sunset term in
with
it.
the date on
That's why I
that.
put my motion that this would only be until June, I put till
Yeah,
June 30th.
it's in the motion, but it-
June 1st or something like
Yeah,
that.
but
They're
make sure that
obviously
you're
gonna get
agreeing
on the
with all
ground
this stuff.
solid.
Yeah, so if we could just have that agreement brought to us, then we'll,
Yeah, I mean, I
Take care of
think the idea
But
is.
you're gonna have, this is more, I've watched trucks come out of areas where, you know, it's muddy and so forth. And they drag a lot of mud and so forth. So this mud was gonna be dragged through the highway department area out.
Well, it's through the solid waste facility, really, isn't it?
No different than bringing the other stuff out, but I mean, you can vote against it, Greg, if you want, you know.
Well, no,
Make it as a me.
I really wanna see this, and this is inaccurate to what you're now saying, that it goes through. Now you're saying it's going not through the highway department, but through the solid waste department?
It's going, do you know what, you know where the brush pile is?
I do know where.
All right, it's gonna come out of there, go down the road. There's only one blacktop road that goes through there. It's where everybody else goes. It's gonna have to go through there.
well, he just wants to know if it's
It's
going.
behind the highway thing, right?
It's what?
Behind the highway barn.
That's right.
Yeah.
In front of the highway department.
Probably more like, comes out more like this,
Let me see.
more out towards the middle. Yeah.
Well, yeah,
I
but
think it's-
I'm more concerned about our employees, our equipment, and the public coming and going with these.
They're not gonna be going out of there every single day. They're not gonna be going out of there continually. I mean, this isn't no huge operation.
Might be a load, might be
Well,
a couple loads, 2 or 3 loads a week maybe, I don't know.
Yeah,
Depend on, I think it was just gonna be one guy, was it one
yeah,
cable?
one small
cable?
operation,
Cable.
one small operation, small skidder, with a
Most of them go first thing.
cable arrangement to get the stuff out of the swamp.
and the public works director will be the one.
Right, Public Works
Directing.
Director, but we
Where-
already
where
talked
to
a
come and
little
go.
bit about that, and he would oversee it.
I'm still missing why we're getting involved with this when you have that frontage on Tash Road.
Well, like I say, if you want to start,
I
then you
understand
should
that.
vote against it.
What it is you have on the edge of that road, you have to be careful. You bring something onto it, breaks down, what they
With that
call an
weight,
apron
yeah.
out there to
No, I
you know,
understand that.
fracture into the road,
Right.
whereas he'll be coming on to the area where trucks ordinarily come on anyway, it's already compressed and, you know, especially if it comes out through the solid waste. But the public works guy will show him where to come up through, and he should be coming right out the
So-
driveway that everybody else uses, I would think.
So they're gonna come through where the solid waste is, up through where people come and drop off their trash. Is that where
I
you?
think so, but
Well, that's my
that did get a
whole,
little confusing, but I.
that's my whole point.
But I can leave that to
It's
the-
not clear.
But I can leave that to Scott and, the Public Works Director. What I want to see is to make sure I'm signing on a temporary, so that when it comes here, we have the temporary in there, rather than just a motion. But
I'd like
answer
to
you,
know
yes.
actually where these physically trucks are gonna come and go from, number one. Number two, if they're picking up dirt, does that mean residents, when they come in to drop off their trash, they're gonna be picking up that mud and dirt on their cars? And we're gonna get complaints about that.
Well, it's always a possibility.
Well, it's more than a possibility.
But if he does it this winter, he'll be all set.
Well, it's gonna be worse this winter because you're gonna be picking up the dirt and snow from
Ground's
the area.
frozen.
Well,
Ground's
yeah,
frozen.
I was getting at, the ground should be frozen.
It could come through the gate of the highway department and go right through that front part there, and not even go over towards where you put the, I mean, there's.
I was almost,
They
that's
go
what I
back,
was
they
thinking,
go
like,
back of the,
going behind the highway shed,
That's right,
in
they could
between
go
that and
behind
sand
it.
shed.
right. they
That's
could
what I
go
was
behind
kinda, my arrow does it, my arrow shows it closer to the boundary, but
That's right,
Something in the way there.
and that's not even tied.
I haven't been out there.
Fence gate, I think, or something, isn't it?
Oh.
I don't know.
I'm not sure, I'll have to go look to it.
Are these logging trucks heavier than the equipment that we have now going in and out on this blacktop?
They get some pretty heavy stuff going in and out.
Tractor trailers going in and out, the big roll-off containers that come in and out of the trash, type of thing, yeah. Okay.
Without clearly understanding where they're going to do this, I think it'd be inappropriate at this time for us to vote on this.
Yeah, and that's what I say to it. This isn't the right time yet. We'll get our paperwork together and vote on it.
Yeah, and maybe have
What
your
did you-
forester,
You,
What
have
do
you
you want me,
filed?
what do you want me to tell him? He has to bring, you tell me what he has to do.
I'd like to know exactly where this is coming off of, your property.
That's up to Mike and the highway department, I would think. That part.
No, it's up to the selectmen and our TA.
So what have you got your public works director for?
Well, not for this,
Oh, okay. That's his facility down there, isn't it?
because if,
Clayton, you're being argumentative.
yeah.
We can,
Which is,
It
why
looks-
why don't you,
it looks good.
let me-
What we need to
why don't you
know is,
develop an agreement with the terms that have been kind of formulated here?
yeah, and
Be
we're,
as specific as you can in terms of entry and exit points to help Greg in terms of visualizing where it might be. If there is still a concern, you might even restrict it to Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, so that you're avoiding all potential of interfering with solid waste activity.
is this yours?
I'm sure that could be worked with your forester, I hope.
Yeah.
So,
But who's
so you
gonna-
might want to add that term, just
Who's gonna pick
just-
up
let me-
that
let me
letter?
finish. Let me finish. Might want to add that term just to, define it so that, addresses some of what Greg's concern has, that he's expressed, and come back with a formal agreement that is, actionable based on whatever the majority decides.
I can tell you from my experience, we did this during the wintertime, had no issues whatsoever. That way, the logger was great, if there was anything that fell off the truck or anything like that, they came out and took care of it, because they wanted to have a good relationship with the property owner.
yeah.
So, we didn't have any troubles, but I
Well,
don't know
the
this.
problem is, this is town property, not Clayton's property, so it's now putting the legal burden onto the taxpayers, it's putting the legal
No,
burden.
the agreement is drafted for the responsibility to be on the person who is requesting the agreement and the easement. So, and that's the reason why you have them insured and you have these conditions placed in there.
But if something happens and a car gets involved with a problem because of the mud or the debris falling off, they're not going to go to Clayton and the forester, they're gonna come to the town and go after the town legally.
Yeah, and the town.
So we're putting our,
That's why the town insists on this liability, $1 million, $2 million.
well, but that's after the fact.
That's where it's all gonna be found out anyway.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's give this some time. You do a little more inquiring about it.
Yeah, if the forester could call me, or Clayton can say, hey, I know exactly where they're gonna come out at, and here it is, I'll come down and
I
we
didn't
can walk.
obviously think that was gonna be an issue, but I'm almost positive they can go behind the highway department. Isn't that a road that goes through there? It's not paved or anything, but they could go through there and come out on the side behind the salt.
But we don't know that, and that's what I'm asking, Clayton.
Well,
If
I
you
mean,
could
I
get
don't know
your,
that either. I
Yeah.
mean, that's up to, I would think, the highway department and public works director.
All right, do you have a start date?
But I'm fine.
When are you looking to start? When are you looking to start, which is what you were asking?
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
When are you looking to start?
I think now with all the rain and stuff coming, they're gonna have to wait till the ground hardens up.
Right.
Yeah,
And I'm
So
not sure.
we meet again next Monday, so.
that should work.
They wanted to do it this summer, but I know people couldn't make decisions that fast,
Okay. So if you can prepare something between
Yeah.
now and next Monday, we can
Yeah, I
take a
have
look.
that, I have that, so
Not
I'll take
fancy,
it.
not fancy anything I've ever done. All, it looks like all the
Grantee,
teeth.
grantor.
Yeah. I didn't know that you did it this way.
So what do you want me to do, tell the forester? I gotta call him tomorrow morning. You want him to come and see you, or you wanna go see Mike, or what are we supposed to do?
I think the biggest thing that we'll probably need to do, Clayton, is if he can mark where you wanna make the access point
Okay.
going into your property, if we can
Yeah.
flag a 15-foot, right, what's gonna be the swath that he would like to go in there, and then we could get Mike and you and I, whoever else wants to go with the field trip, and determine which route of travel to come out.
The best way to come out.
Sure, maybe
Okay.
the forester, that day the forester's there, because he'd be there, he'd know the best too.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's fine.
that's fine.
We'll
I'll
set
set
it
it
up.
up to tell him tomorrow.
Yeah,
we're gonna pin, we're already gonna, it's already flagged down there anyway, but.
Oh, it is,
Yeah.
okay.
Did you have a staging area on part of your property and part of the town property?
Well, obviously, the two come together at a common point, you're gonna have to go across it one way or the other.
Will your log yard be on
Yeah,
your property?
I think it would be on the town's property, but that's high ground.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine.
We'll chip them up in the spring if you don't move them.
Like I say, I've looked at it a couple of times, and I think there are some logs that are gonna have to be cut to make the area big enough. But that would be town lumber, you know, the check will come back to the.
So along the property line, we have trees there, you're gonna cut down those
That's
trees.
right. That's right.
All right,
Okay.
I think we're ready to move on, are we?
I think so.
Okay. The next thing is the Booty House account payment authorization. Is this something you want us to talk about, Kathy? or-
Well, I'll let Scott, I think, introduce what's.
Pretty well outlined in Scott's
Yeah?
notes to the meeting here.
Yeah.
But just from the public point of view, there was, you know, if you don't mind, Scott, I'll just do a
No,
quick
go
summary, and Kathy, if I'm not quite clear, let me know.
I'll help.
But there appears to have been a deposit that Booty House had took, a revenue that the Booty House took in of $285. And due to, I'm not quite in agreement with how you worded it here, Scott, but that's okay. This concept's still there. Due to apparently an error in applying where that should go, or what account that should go in, it did not get into the Booty House. And so what you're looking for is to having that, wherever it went in, reversed and having it put into the Booty House. You can show clear trail that indeed it was a revenue to the Booty House. You're just asking for it to now be accounted in the Booty House account. Fair, someone?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that's pretty fair.
Oh. I'll make a motion to authorize payment of $285 from account 014130-20-820, which is, I believe, the account that was, just as an aside, not part of the motion, I believe it was an account that they determined is where it went, to the Booty House account 01,
4130.
I don't think it's, let me back off the motion because I'm just reading here. I don't know if that's the right account. Is that the right account? It's a
Yes.
revenue account?
Yeah.
Is that what they're looking for on this one?
Yeah, that's,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'll make the motion to authorize payment of $285 from account 014130-20-820, which is the executive office other, to the Booty House account 01-1010-35-000.
I will second that. That's Bickford, seconds it. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Thank you.
thank you. How'd your meeting go, by the way?
It was fantastic. We put our finishing touches on the marketing plan yesterday after a 7.5-hour meeting.
How long?
7.5 hours.
Jeez, you guys are super.
I'm not here 7.5 hours.
All right.
We got paperwork coming.
And I like the dogs.
We can, paper trail, yeah.
Is that our Italian
Just a
girl
copy?
that has the dogs?
Yes.
Y'all are back. You got it in your packet.
Yeah, yes, but I didn't.
Does he bring food for you or anything?
No, we don't do a Dutch treat.
Oh, do you?
We usually recess briefly and a couple of people go out and get lunch for us and then we come back and then work and eat.
We have a good brew.
All right,
Thank you.
we'll move on to impact fees then.
Yep, you have a memo in your packet from Finance in regards to the request to the treasurer for the transfer of funds to the impact fees that are held in the general fund for payment, subsequent payment to the Governor Wentworth School District. And that is in the amount of $18,233.90.
This on the back page.
This information here?
Yeah.
This is, I believe, the warrant article. that spoke to the creation of that. I remember
Of moving those funds,
I think you missed it.
I believe.
I read over that.
No, it was the actual, this is actually the bond
Do you have that one?
itself, I believe.
Oh, the school,
Yeah.
it is?
Yeah, those are the different, this one here is the bond, and I believe I saw that it was Article 2 was highlighted, and Article 4, and I'm not sure why those look like they were highlighted in there when Jen put this packet together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't understand, this appeared to be passed,
What's that?
this,
It was passed.
yeah.
Yeah, these are the minutes from the town meeting from back in, when I believe this was created.
And this is this where we take the impact fees, move it to one of our accounts, and then kick it over to the school system?
Correct.
Would it be Article 2 under the schools?
I believe that is it. Yeah, that basically shows.
67 million?
Right, that shows that you have a actual bond that's outstanding, which then supports you to be able to have an impact fee for that purpose, which was for the schools.
So they put that into that account, the bond account, versus their taxes for the kids?
No, these are the actual bonds that were passed.
Right.
Yeah, so under your ordinance that you actually have for your impact fees,
Right.
it spells out that you have to have an existing bond out there
And this
for
just proves that
schools.
you have one.
And this shows that
The
is.
missing piece is it doesn't tell you what date this,
Yeah, I don't see the date,
I don't either.
but
oh,
it doesn't have, I believe it, I thought it was 2009 or 10.
Okay, so let me ask you one more time. So the money that we're going to use for the impact fees from the town
well, it's still.
will go to the Whitworth school system, but we give it,
Yeah, Randy.
it goes towards the money that we owe for the bond rather than the other amount that we pay for the kids.
Yeah, that's what is supposed to happen, yeah.
I mean, we just give it to them, they can put it anywhere they want, but because of this article, is that what we're saying, this is where we
What it
can
does,
accept sending it to the schools?
It supports that your ordinance that you have for impact fees
Right,
is legit. And
Right.
that you can collect these fees for the purpose of being able to send them to the school district
Okay.
for the payment of bonds.
This attachment only shows that you have a school bond in which impact fees can be applicable. It doesn't show that the town actually has authorized impact fees.
Right.
because that was
Yeah, that's in the
some time
ordinance.
ago, but,
yeah, that
This
was,
only shows that you have a bond in place.
Right.
On which you can apply, the impact fees.
okay.
Well, the key is the new space.
Pardon?
What is
The
it?
key is new space in that. See where it says for constructing new space?
You don't have to have new
Renovating
space.
wouldn't, I
You
don't
just have
think.
an existing bond, you don't have new space.
Well, you have to, if you look at your CIP, you have to, you can't use existing buildings or renovations for using impact fees on. But you can for new space that's being provided for the impact of new people. That's the simplistic way of putting it.
Well, that's what,
That, yeah, well, I mean, no. If you have to have that every year, then this wouldn't apply if this is from 2009.
No, not every year.
Right. But
Well,
the point is that you
here
have
it's
an
like
existing
the law.
bond for school,
Yeah.
which is applicable for impact fees to be put to. And this shows that. But this is, it's missing is the date. You need a year or whatever for this.
Well, it's just information.
But this just shows that the other missing piece is you should have a warrant article that says the town is collecting impact fees.
You can take our word for it.
somewhat incomplete.
There's a big book upstairs that says impact fees, and it's all in there. Anybody can stop by and visit with it.
It's not the impact fee book,
Have a little
it's
talk
the, it's
to
the
it.
warrant articles.
Right, the warrant article's in the.
So
book.
specifically, the impact fees are just to go to the school system for our kids that go up there.
There are other applications that can, but.
But that's
school
what
is one
we've,
main one.
that's what we've established right now.
Currently, that's what you have.
Okay.
Somebody made a decision, if I recall, we went to legal counsel, and they said, yeah, that works. Because it is, questionable.
What the impact fees are, what we're.
What you can use those impact fees against.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
It's for the school, and the school came up with, well, you can use it against these bonds, and legal, our lawyer said, yeah, that's right.
Okay. But that, in turn, lowers the tax rate, the school tax rate for our taxpayers, correct?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know by how many tenths of a cent.
It's about 4 cents, I think.
Yeah.
That much? I think so. I think it's 10 cents for every 41,000. Maybe that's only on the operating thing.
That's
Have to look
on
at the
ours.
whole.
That's
Have to
operating.
look at the total,
This,
yeah.
Yeah, we'd have to
Well,
apply
it's
it
just
to
a total.
the.
But at least it'll lower something for our taxpayers through the school
Has to be the total
side of it.
because
And do we have to follow up with that to make sure they do drop it?
$11 million evaluation.
Who checks up on that?
yeah, I don't know if it'd be that.
I guess that's you.
I don't think it would be that much.
It's,
But I haven't done the calculation either.
Yeah.
it's not the way that I would
Do it?
do it. I mean, but this is what you have for an ordinance, and this is how the money's being
Right.
distributed, but.
But we have,
have
you know,
you-
just quickly, I mean, in several of the past years, we have applied impact fees to the school portion of the tax rate, and we've done it more or less via this vehicle.
That's right.
So,
The-
When I talked to the school district, they said that they, as long as they had these monies and they came in, that they would in fact apply it at that point towards the tax rate.
Okay.
So in
that-
other
you
words,
won't
it
see
goes
that
in
in-
as their
yeah.
unreserved fund balance.
You won't see that until at least the June, right, the June
Correct.
bills.
Yeah, it won't be
Yeah,
until.
the tax,
Well,
yeah.
that's
We're
at
not
least.
gonna go back.
It may not be until
I
December,
don't know if they adjust until the,
yeah, the following year.
Yeah.
like we do.
Yeah, because they're on a fiscal year, but
Right.
I don't know that, so.
So Mary said that as long as she got them, then it goes into the unreserved fund balance as additional revenues. And they still pay the bond payments just the same way. It's kind of a, I
Right.
call it a smoke and mirrors type of thing there,
Well,
but
yeah.
it does go to a certain percentage of reducing your tax burden.
Right, which we wanna do.
The whole thing goes against
Right.
tax burden.
Well, the key piece is to make sure that this 18,000, if that's the ending number that we end up with, they have a way of looking only at the Durham portion of what's due, I'm assuming, if they do that. So that's the only way that, I mean, they can't apply it across all 6 or 8 towns, whatever it is.
You know, I wish I knew how the school was, I know how ours is, but I kind of question.
We have not had a problem in the past, but it would be something to make sure we track properly.
I know I've questioned that in the past, and was assured that
It's
it
done
was
for
being
us.
done.
Yeah, but
Uh,
I suspect they have a line item for each town, but.
Yeah, I'd like to go up there and find out how they do set the tax rates for us on all of our schools, and how, if they do that individually, you know what I'm saying, it's just, it's different.
So we'll have someone tracking this for us.
So what,
We send it up to the school.
But I meant that it does reflect off of the taxes of the taxpayers here.
I'll ask Mary if she can report to us
Okay.
Now, this,
what that
Sorry.
impact is.
what Jen did was it Jen C. that did this?
Yes.
What she did is just took everything that we had in the impact fee that was eligible, I think, at what, 3 years or something?
Yes.
So she took everything that was available 3 years and older, and it's, and then put out whole amount in this memo, right?
Yes.
so this brings up to date. Of the last impact fee that was collected? That sound right?
Yes.
Okay.
2000.
Yeah, there may have been some stuff that's been collected.
I mean, this looks like it goes back to 2010, that can't be right. Well, no, it'd be 2011, there's a fund. Now I got a 2010 in there.
All right.
Well, that's the total amount here. How did she get to the, I looked this over once, so I don't know where she picks it up at.
Well, some of these, or most of them actually were collected early, when the building permit was applied for, and I think this
Yeah.
supposed to collect them on the CO, which means what?
Certificate of occupancy.
Occupancy, that's
Yeah.
it. I always forget that one.
Well,
I always think commanding officer.
Swins, when you were chair, as I recall, didn't you take some impact fees
Yeah.
and deduct that?
Well, we did the same thing. We had,
Yeah.
you know, we applied them to the school rate portion of the tax rate.
And do you remember what years they were picking up on that?
No, I
I think it's
think you have to, for some reason, I think you have to, 3 years rings a bell. I think you have to have it 3 years over, which is a little surprising on the
No,
2014
no.
part.
Well,
You
what
can
did
see
you-
the different credit amounts that have gone,
Yeah, I saw that, but
26,000 in 2013,
30,461.
30,461, and
Yeah. So those,
it says in 2015, but, you know, once again, they're doing a look back, I guess. I
Now,
don't-
the other, again, the backup is not complete here. I mean, on some of them, they have the date, on some of them, they don't have the date. I don't understand why that is.
yeah.
I'm a little disappointed in the preparation of this.
Well, I can tell you that the records are weren't the best. Took many, many hours to try to resurrect some of this information.
Oh, is that right?
Yes. What's happened is, as you've changed financial officers through the years, those, in other words, they all did it differently. They didn't have a written script. that
I think this is more,
Dictated as.
this is probably equally a code enforcement officer issue as it is a finance issue.
As well, correct.
I don't think it's just
We
the
have a lot of
finance.
missing records from 2015 in the building side of things, and unable to determine whether fees were collected or not collected, unable to determine whether or not COs were issued or not issued, and that was due to the turnover in staff.
Yeah. We don't have that problem now, so this should get more accurate.
I'm not sure as I agree with you that it's due to the turnover. It is the staff itself.
I agree with that.
The staff that was there, correct.
I did want to just point out, if you were aware, that there's an ordinance for impact fee, but that's an authority. Gives authority, and that authority is given to the planning board. So it's their decision whether there are impact fees collected or not.
Right.
And they can, as I understand, they can drop that at any time, and I think they can start it up.
We actually looked at that 2 years ago.
What was last year?
And actually, no, it was 2014, might even been 2013. And I made actually I made a proposal to reduce the impact fees a little bit, but that was not done. It was voted just to continue as they were. So they're still definitely in place, and it has been reviewed in the last, say, 3 years, within the last 3 years.
It's my impression that they were reduced a little bit. I remember being at one of the meetings, we talked about it.
We talked
And you
about
were
it.
on
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look at it. We talked about it for sure. And, but I don't know that they were reduced, if any, but if it were reduced, it was minimal. You may be right, it may have been like 10 cents or something.
It was,
10 or
I was gonna
15
say
cents.
15.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, probably should be reviewed.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's how it works, and I'm all for sending the money well, they can hold it as well as we can. And that way we don't have to worry about somebody making a mistake.
I still have I have a question based on the CO dates, whether all this money is available, based on RSA requirements.
That it's all available?
I thought there was a certain number of years. It may be after the CO, you have 6 years to
Yeah,
to
6
spend.
years, if you do not spend it,
Yeah.
if you do not disperse it.
After the
then-
CO,
Right,
yeah.
then you will,
If you're talking about 6 years,
then it has to be returned plus interest.
Well, what we don't know is for 2 of those, if the CO's even been issued, right?
Um,
they've been collecting them for some time at the application for but when they get their building
Building
permit.
permit, yeah.
David, if I could, can help you, because I vividly remember this, because we
Oh, all right.
suffered a major sticker shock
You don't mind, do you?
when we got our building permit. We paid it all, we paid it all up front. We were one of the first ones to get hit by it.
When you say up front, you mean?
At the building permit stage.
The builder couldn't get the building
Yeah.
permit without
Right.
paying it all.
And that's what I think the planning board and everybody agreed to do it at that time.
Right.
But-
What year was that, Mark?
2011, I believe it was. But it shows on here as with CO, but it was 2011.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we're picking up like that this point on then.
Well, they've been going on before that, I think, haven't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I, just a quick comment.
Yeah, go ahead.
As I said, we don't know for two of them here whether it's available or not, whether the CO's been issued.
I don't think that matters on the CO. It matters whether they collected it or not, like Mark paid it up front,
I'm
as he
not sure,
calls it.
I'm not sure what the RSA has.
So let's see what Terry has to say.
We used to collect the money before a permit would be issued. I believe it was late 2014 or sometime in 2015 when everybody realized that you shouldn't be collecting the impact fee until you issue the CO, which for many people could be 3, 4, or 5 years from point of permit to point of CO.
That's why I recall the CO being a critical date point for being able to collect and use. But
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so you're saying that gap could exist and between collecting the money and the CO, and therefore
if
it's,
it was done before the CO,
yeah.
or
So
alternatively,
And so therefore, if they come back and say, hey, you know something, I decided not to build my house,
you
we'd have to pay that money
you
back.
have to owe it.
That's the point you're trying to make.
That's part of it, yeah. Plus,
So
just making sure we have the RSA followed
so
properly.
it's best to do it to see, yeah,
Well, I checked the RSA and it
certification of
does
occupancy.
talk about CO.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's how we do it now?
I believe so.
that's-
Yeah, that's why the CO, for me, had a very significant point, not only from the 6-year deal, but also from when we collect, and that's why I was a little concerned on these two.
Well, once
collected.
a CO has been obtained, there's no ability for anybody to reclaim that money.
He's saying the
That's
opposite.
correct. But what I'm saying is that for those two that we don't know, we don't know.
Right, and there's still money in the account.
I understand, but it could have collected at the permit level instead of the CO level.
Correct.
We don't know.
He's
We don't-
concerned that they may not get a building, they may
May
not
not fulfill their,
fulfill,
CO,
right, they may not
yeah.
do their building.
Right.
They may change their mind on it. And they come back, I want my permit money back, and we'd have to give them that permit money back.
which is almost $6,000 here.
And we know how the school spends money, and we know they won't give it back, because they'll have it all spent by the time they
No.
get it.
Well, in all actuality, you have about, looking at the accounts.
That's about 5820, those two.
I'm sorry?
Those two with that we don't know.
Fif-
I suspect that there are COs, but I don't know. So if you say, let's make sure that we have those covered properly, that's $5,220.
Which one's what? Because,
That's the $4,000 plus, sorry, $5,820. 1810,
whoop, $57.99?
yeah, $1,810, it's 10-30 and 10-53.
10-30, 10-53.
Right.
Those, just those two?
Right. Well, the rest of them have a certificate of occupancy date noted here.
Oh, yeah.
So
Right.
it's 5820, round numbers.
No, no, you're right.
And that's the part that I've been a little bit concerned about.
See, I was thinking addition, well, it was an addition on the place, but you're right, because unless that,
May not have been done, yeah.
unless it was, yeah. If you have a date, you can go by, because you have 6 months, or a
Right.
certain period of time to get your
But we don't
project
even know what
done.
date that is. Now, you can make an assumption that these are, chronologically consecutively numbered.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it's valid or not, but you could make that assumption. But actually, you
Okay,
can't
we-
make that assumption because 77 is 2011 versus
Well, look, we can do
30
this
is,
anytime,
32 is 2014.
right? We don't have to do it now, we can do it the next meeting, or the meeting after,
Yeah.
at any time, I believe, there's no, not even a fiscal.
Yeah, I mean, we're not gonna get on this tax bill anyway, but what the key question is, can you confirm two things? One is CO for those two that we don't have COs. And number two is verify that it's, the CO date is the key date here. But
That's
Yeah, well,
Peter
well,
just dropped.
the latter one
Check
is
its
less,
records
the
or
latter
drive
one's a little
by.
lesser important.
Well, once Peter turns it, yeah, okay. All
The,
right.
the alternative is you could say instead of 18.2, you're gonna do, $5,820 less than that.
Right, but it doesn't.
Doesn't solve the problem for the $5,800, but.
Yeah.
See, I'm saying send it back.
But yeah, now,
Yeah, let's
let
do
me back, I'm just gonna back the tape up, because we've already done this once. Just, we put this all together once before, and it was, I believe, lacking these two, because it was 12,000 and change. So I believe that Jen went back to the building inspector and to try to make some determination as to when the CO date was in fact there. He was unable to do that, but was able to verify that these were completed. The two additions,
That's the missing piece, I don't know how that
Right.
shows.
so even though there wasn't a CO issue,
They may
because
not-
he wasn't, he basically did a drive-by and said, well, people are living there and looks like the work's been completed. So that's the only situation there.
I would want a statement to that effect, I think, with this packet. We have a statement to that effect that says we verified that work's done. Probably, that's the only problem.
Well, this is not a big deal, just
Right?
send it to Peter, let him,
Just to make out a statement, having the code enforcement officer make a statement that said,
yeah,
reviewed this, we verified the work has been done.
right.
It says addition on it, but it still needs CO, doesn't
Well,
it? Is there some way around it?
technically, probably no, but I don't,
It's gotta be living space, otherwise it wouldn't
It
wouldn't have an impact fee.
That's right.
yeah.
So any living space would require a occupancy permit, or is it something else? I've kinda lost.
Kind of a certificate of completion, because if people are already living there and they add on,
Yeah.
a family room or
Bedroom or whatever, yeah.
yeah.
All right. Well, if we get,
Just get a written statement that says we verified the work. Okay. Can't find the CO, but we verified the work.
and have them help us understand the CO and whatever else there is.
So we'll just put that on
We,
hold.
we only collect on COs now, we don't collect.
Right.
you know.
I believe that's true.
And that's the right way to do it.
Okay.
Which has brought my thing about an addition, is there a CO on that, or is there something else that would make it?
I'd have to ask you that.
Yeah. He'll bring that back to us.
Okay. Moving right along. Policy Review Committee appointments, we've got Ronald Cook and Neil Burns. I believe we nominated them, and today we have the opportunity to,
Appoint.
yeah, appoint. So anybody,
I'll make the, you want me to make a motion then?
if you wish, yeah.
I'll make a motion to appoint Ronald Cook of New Durham, New Hampshire, as a member of the Policy Review Committee, the said term to expire on March 31st, 2017. Do I have a second?
All right, I'll second that. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, that's unanimous.
I make a motion to appoint Neil Burns of New Durham, New Hampshire, as a member of the Policy Review Committee with the said term to expire on March 31st, 2017.
All right, I'll second that. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, some things we're fast on, some things we're
Some
not.
of those.
I always ask about the date.
Today's date.
Yeah. We should put that down now, shouldn't we?
Yep.
You're gonna do
I will
your-
fill it in when it gets down here.
Yep. Oh, okay, well, I did this one already.
thing we got is a mutual aid agreement with Wolfboro for the fire department.
Yeah, the Wolfboro has a new fire chief as of a few months ago, and both he and the New Durham fire chief have talked about the automatic response that they do to the folks up there on Kings Highway and Copper Crown. And with that, the chief from Wolfboro asked if they could actually have a written agreement, because the New Durham is not part of a mutual aid system, even though they're covered under state statute, but to render aid to one another. The fire chief there in Wolfboro felt it would be best to have both towns sign an agreement under that purpose. So we put together some language and sent it over, and they have gone ahead and signed it, and looking for your signature as well.
All right, is this their standard, or is this something you had to develop, or is this something, the form?
No, I mean, we put this together, it was reviewed by their town council, and they found that it was perfectly fine. It makes reference to the state RSA,
Yep.
which covers all of that as well. In that situation, law enforcement basically does a written agreement with every abutting town.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's not a bad thing to have, but it does fall directly back on the state RSA in that situation.
No, I just wanted to do a form, a standard form for all the towns to use.
No, no, and generally, most towns belong or are affiliated with a mutual aid system. So mutual aid systems, basically, everybody, when they sign on their membership, they all agree to the state RSA. Even though the state RSA is there anyways, they all agree that they'll operate within that and help one another.
All right. And the majority of their board of selectmen have already signed this.
All right, I'll make a motion to enter into a mutual agreement with the town of Wolfboro for the purposes of emergency services between the two communities. Said agreement under New Hampshire RSA 154:24 through 28. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Greg seconds it. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Did you send that down?
I will send that down.
Oh, you are, good, thank you.
You're welcome.
It didn't have the red flag on it. so-
No, it didn't have to. And I'll bring it back to you.
That one dated November 2nd.
Pardon me?
We had a schedule.
We're ahead of schedule?
That's for the Wolfboro folks.
Yeah, we are.
Took a while to get here.
You'll retain a copy for our records here?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
All right, the next one is police officer appointment, and this one is Jason Durant, who would be part-time. As you probably know, we started on this.
Yeah, we started on it and actually did conditional office and accepted. Jason had accepted his conditional offer, as well as his lieutenant, George Joy. They both work in Barrington, and Jason was injured in between his conditional offer and when the 2-week vetting finished, and he was out of work for his injury. So I did not bring it back before the board until he was medically cleared to return to full duty. And the chief has received all of his medical paperwork clearing him for full duty and the rest of his background material. George Joy, we did approve him, although he has not been able to complete all of his paperwork, so he hasn't been appointed or been sworn in for that. But Jason has completed everything and turned it in.
Did we? Go ahead.
No, you verified that police chief is satisfied and everything is up to
Yes.
date on this?
He's the one that contacted me and
Okay.
said that everything was, because we were holding it.
Okay.
I remember interviewing George Joy.
Yeah.
I don't remember Jason though.
Yeah,
Did
Yeah, we
somebody
did
else
them
do
both.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we did, the 25th, we did him on the 25th. I think we did George the same night. Let me look. Yeah, I believe, yeah, both of them were interviewed on the 25th.
All right. You should be ready to go, right?
Yeah, I will have to, I forgot to ask Stephanie today, she was out last week, as far as doing the appointment paper, but I'll have her do that and leave it for you to, for your signature, for the actual appointment paper.
All right, so I'll make a motion to appoint, hire Jason Durance of Farmington, New Hampshire as a part-time police officer at an hourly rate of $22 per hour.
I'll second that.
Greg seconds that. Any further discussion? Hearing none? Oh, you'd have further discussion?
No, I was gonna go aye.
Oh, okay. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Okay.
Am I at G1?
Yeah, G1, yes.
Okay. What I want to do is,
And I'd be glad to explain that when we get to the point.
I will have you explain.
Okay, thank you.
The Board of Selectmen, as most, well, I don't know if you know this or not, but we have approved the tax rate, the tax bills went out. We're starting to get tax revenue in from those. But I do want to say that the three selectmen have worked very hard to drop our taxes. And we were proud to do it again this year in 2016. And in 2015, our municipal tax rate was $5.35. We dropped that down 28 cents to $5.07. This would be the 2016 tax rate for the municipality of the town. So that's a drop of about 5.5%. What we did not have control over is the county went up 4%. The local education, this would be the Governor Wentworth School District, went up 7.4, about 7.5% up. And the state education, the state dropped by 4%. So the county and the state pretty well washed themselves. But what raised the people's taxes this time around was our local education that we have to pay to get Governor Wentworth of 7.5%. So that's what increase you saw. But what we had control, the three selectmen have control over, we dropped it by 5.5%, and that equals 28 cents per thousand drop.
Let me make one comment, Greg, which I think is, I mean, you've nailed it, the key issue here, which is the school rate. I want to make one comment in that if the town would choose to totally offset what the school rate went up, we would have to take almost $500,000 out of the budget from the town, which is ridiculous. I mean, it just shows you that.
The disparity.
Well, I think the selectmen, although we may oftentimes differ with a dialogue that is, I think, spirited at times, which is okay, as long as it's respectful, we gotta recognize that the tax rate issues are really school-related, and we gotta find a way to make sure that that's spent, I think, more wisely.
Yeah, let us know if you have any ideas.
I have many.
Good. Good to hear. Want to share
And
them
I'll
someday?
support you on those.
Okay?
Did you have anything else, Greg, you wanted to?
No, I'm just proud that we were able to at least lower the town tax rate.
And just one other comment was that initially when we received our tax rate from the Department of Revenue Administration, before the Board of Selectmen applied any unreserved fund balance to help reduce the taxes, based upon the budgeting that was done municipally here in the town of Durham, your tax rate municipally went down 5 cents without applying any monies whatsoever. So that itself, from last year's budget to this year's budget, saw a 5-cent reduction in your tax rate before you applied any monies towards it, and then the other monies that were applied, plus revenues, brought it down that other 28 cents. So,
But the key was that 28 cents.
Well, the key was, you know, it wasn't
I
just
like
the
the
Board of
fact-
Select, the key wasn't just the Board of Selectmen, Scott is absolutely right on. And that is that the department heads and Scott as leading that group as a town administrator, have, while they've had changes in various departments in terms of up budget and down budget, the overall budget and control of that has been done very well, I think, and has contributed to leveling and actually reducing the tax rate, as Scott's just indicated. So I do think there has to be kudos out to them as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely,
yeah. Great effort by everybody, I think.
absolutely.
And they said it could be done.
That's right, we lowered it.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, Joan?
Do we know how many students are from New Durham that go to the school over there at Winter? I mean, what
The Governor Whitworth School District?
Yeah,
It should be right around 400 right now. Last time I checked, it was 406.
what percentage?
It has been dropping by about 1.5% to 2% a year.
And
Its
what
high
per-
was 465 at one
What
time.
percentage
What
of it?
percentage of their total of their students do ours make up?
You used to know that, I don't know that now.
I'm trying to think. I think it's about, was it 15%, something?
That's
17%,
what's in
something
my
like that.
mind
Yeah,
too, but
I don't know for sure.
And what percentage do we pay comparatively to the others? Do we know that? I mean, is it comparable?
yes, all that information is available.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't have it top of my head, but
Yeah.
it is, I've gathered it before.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, they're very good about giving us that information if we ask for it, you know. We call the superintendent's office and
Okay.
just let them know what you want, they'll get it.
All right, thank you.
But what we haven't done, and Dave brought this up at the other Board of Selectmen meeting, was when they come to, when they do their budgeting and so forth, only one person in New Durham went to fight for New Durham to lower the school rate, and that was Dave. So he brought up this fact, and I think we're gonna have to do this. We're gonna have to have more people get together and go up there when they start adjusting their budgets, so they understand that, you know, this is a great sacrifice for us. And they've got to start looking after taxpayers across the board of the, was it 5 or 6 schools, towns go up there?
Yeah, the 6, I believe.
Yeah.
And plus Middleton now has since,
Yeah.
when you say up there, but the school district, of course, has schools within the towns
Right.
as well.
So Middleton has been added?
Yes.
to this
Yes.
law?
Last year.
So
Was
what
that-
do they-
I was told, I shouldn't say I was told, I looked up the number of students last year to year, last year, this year. They are up one student, sorry, 2 years ago, they are up one student, but that's mainly because of Middleton's add to the school district.
But was that in the total New Durham, or is
No,
that
that's
just in the
total
elementary?
student, total students.
Yeah, so that doesn't tell us what New Durham is.
No,
New
no,
Durham could
no, no.
still be down 10.
That's correct, that's correct.
So with
Steady
the-
decline throughout the state since about 2005, 7, right in there is when it dropped right off.
I just wondered what our ratio was compared to the total number of the students, you know, basing on what we're paying, you know, as that percentage, how that looked.
Yeah, yeah, we've talked about changing the formula, but
Yeah.
it would just be in somebody else's disfavor on that.
Some
We've
other
been through a lot
district.
over the years, haven't we, Terry?
If you-
Terry, do you want to say something?
If you look over several years, the line that most of your increase occurs in is not in your instructional staff or your para staff. It's in your administrative line. And I did some percentages, and the increases in the administrative pay line increased far higher than any increase in the number of students, including adding Middleton in.
Well,
So
last,
they have a higher overhead.
They have a high administrative overhead.
The students, the number of students going down.
there was a big increase last year because there was a big raises they planned on putting out. And it was throughout the administration and teachers and staff and all that. And two communities voted it down by a majority, which was at New Durham and Effingham. Yeah, which is interesting, because they're the two communities that need to use the school for voting. So coincidental. Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
Just a quick question, I wish I knew the answer to this, it seems basic, but do all the towns pay the same rate per student, or is it vary
It varies.
based on the
It's
contract?
based on, yeah, it's not based on the number of students, it's based on the valuation of the town, total budget and all that stuff.
It's also in the, also 75-25 is the ratio. And I can't remember which way it is. I think it's 75 on the evaluation and 25 on average daily attendance. So it's also by the student, but the evaluation what throws it off. So anyway, anything else?
Thanks, I appreciate it.
But one other thing I'd like to say then is, when they come up for this, for their budgeting process, I think, pardon me?
They're on the same, pretty much the same.
I think they're just about.
They're
Schedule
on
we
fiscal
are.
year from July 1 through June 30th. Their fiscal year.
So they have to have everything prepared for their warrant at the same time we do.
Yeah.
Well, I guess where it's headed with this was, when we know they're gonna start working on this, we need to get our town, some information out to our town residents and get a group up of concerned citizens and have them appear at their budgeting process.
Well, the only thing that would do is if you wanted to adjust the budget. You could do it that way. Right now, there's mostly vested interest people probably there. But if you came up with enough people
But
at a
you've gotta-
deliberative session,
You've gotta counter that.
you could offer some other number.
That's right. That's right. But I think if we had, quite a few people going up there, I think they would pay attention a little bit more.
That's how you have to do it, no?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I
It certainly couldn't hurt.
okay. I don't know what to say to that, Greg, so I'll just pass over.
Okay.
Hard to read other people's minds, So what, Scott, you had some, you put together some budget pages
Yes.
for us to add to our,
I have,
With
by the way,
possible
1,
changes.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I have 7 accounts that the selectmen differ from
I forgot to bring my budget.
budget committee.
that's all
or
right.
It's
other-
off the pictures.
Yeah, you may
That's all
have a couple more than I do. Yeah, you want me to list them for you?
if you got more than what he's got, then
I
yeah.
have more than.
Well, we'll just go right down, your list includes what he has, right?
It does, plus 3 or 4 more.
All right, why don't you run us right down through them then?
All right, I don't have these in numerical order, so 4196,
Oh, wait a minute. 4190s.
This is general fund insurance.
yeah. 4195,
Oh, I'm sorry, you're gonna go through each one of them, how you wanna do it?
no, I'm just giving you a list of what we have to make a conscious
Yeah,
decision
we
on.
just have
Okay.
to review.
4195, which is cemeteries, 4441.
Wait, so you're skipping around a little bit, right?
As I said, these aren't in numerical order.
Wait a minute, well, let me get it in order.
I can put them in numerical order if you'd like. Too late for that, though.
Well, that's all right, I'll move over.
We're doing fine.
4441 is 4441 is welfare.
Yep.
4140, sorry, is elections and registration. 4152, which is assessing. 4210, which is police. And 4324, which is solid waste, part of what we just went through tonight. So those are the ones that I have where we have some difference.
All right, let's take a look. We'll start right at 4196 then.
4196 is the insurances, right?
That's the one you brought up, Greg.
4196, yeah.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
So what did you want to tell us, Greg? about the insurance?
Well, Scott has been working on this for us, and one of the issues was the Primex, what Primex was going to do for the town of New Durham this year. Were they gonna raise it, lower it, cancel this, or whatever? Well, I think either through Scott's snoozing, or whatever, Primex actually dropped their rate on the one part of it by 4.5%. And then they raised it on something that we really don't have a complete control over, and that's, what is it? It's the.
Workers' comp.
Workers' comp, thank you. That one, it did raise a little bit, but overall, I think didn't it drop overall, or did it stay the same?
Went up slightly.
Well, yeah.
It actually went up, but not by a whole lot.
No, the property and liability program for Primex last year was $50,543. This year, it's dropped to $47,648. And then
No. Well, I'm sorry, go ahead. They go from July 1 to June 30th, so.
So you have to take 50/50.
Yeah.
well, yeah, I mean, the one is 2016 to 2017, then it picks it up halfway into 2017 and 2018. But regardless of 2016, 2017, which I call last year's, is 50,543. The pickup of the end of that, which would be 2017 to 2018, would be a drop to $47,648. And that was the good news. The other news for workman comp, the 2016, 2017, what we paid was $34,034. And then this upcoming year, 2017 and 2018, it went up to $35,564. So overall, we were concerned that this might really spike, and it didn't, absolutely did not. It dropped on the property and liability program, and then the other part, it did go up as workman
It
comp.
actually didn't drop on property and liability. It went up by about $1,000. Or by,
Yes.
I'm sorry, not quite $1,000, by
Not
about
quite.
$500.
You saw an upkick, about $2,200 from 15 to 16, and then you're seeing just a slight upkick then to 17, and see what the trend is. There's no cap, so you'll have to see what comes in.
Right.
next.
But this is the only thing we have to give us an idea of what the budget was.
That's
So,
That's right.
Therefore, Scott, are you telling us we should use the department requested number?
Yeah, I mean,
Or-
I mean,
Well, if I did the exact math, because the 48,890 is a full year amount, I believe, right?
that's correct.
So it'd be half that, if you will. 24.
No, you want to use your two rates.
Yeah, yeah. It'd be 24 something, plus, it's actually 23,824, plus 25,272, which would be about 49,1. So 50,000 really is part of what the number should be.
That's what I put.
Yeah, that's what I said.
I have
department requested.
56,000 is what you're talking about the new sheet that you handed out, yeah.
Yeah, it's in the packet.
52,
No, this is from before.
yeah, we use 52,000, that'll,
Yeah, my
Work, right?
recommendation is to go with 50.
Well, it's 50,000 for that and the 2,000 for the insurance
Correct.
deductible.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So it'll
so,
be 52.
52. So we had requested 59.5,
That's correct.
so we can drop that back to 52,000
so I'll make a motion
and be
to
accurate.
rescind our further, previous action on, account number 4196, insurance, and use 52,000 for the bottom line. Do I have a second?
4196.
Hmm?
Yeah, so 40, I didn't hear if you said 4196. but
No, I said 52,000.
Yeah, yeah,
52,
for account 4196.
Yeah. So-
which was the insurance account, and I'll second that.
All right, Greg makes a second. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, what's the other one?
Now, excuse me, has the budget committee seen this? Have they worked on this yet?
No. No.
Okay,
Well, they worked on it earlier on, but they'll.
but they can make
No,
adjustments.
there's no
We'll
action.
bring it back before them.
Okay,
We might be doing this again.
Well, there's no action by the budget committee as yet.
We're just fine tuning the form.
that's right.
Cemeteries, right?
Yeah, and we,
4195.
let me pull my information on this.
We talked about this one quite a
Yes, we
lot.
did, but we took no action.
That was the decision not to take action, wasn't it?
Well, if that remains, I wanted to bring it up to make sure that everybody's comfortable with that. We then will differ from what the budget committee has approved. This one they have approved.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you said they have or have not?
They have
They have.
a different number than
They
what
cut
we
it
have.
From,
They took out.
Well, they dropped this
They
because
dropped
of
10-330, more or less.
the mowing,
About
right?
12, yeah, about $1,200.
they didn't say what they dropped. They just
Okay.
That's
said-
the only line item they discussed.
They just said, we're gonna drop the whole thing
Yeah,
down
I
to
remember.
4,000. I hate to leave people unburied. They get smelly after a while. So.
Yes.
And we went to a discussion about.
We did discuss this.
About who pays for what. Most of the time it's done by the highway department. It could be done outside if the trustees wanted to. And we felt there should be, the money needed to be transferred. That's what was not happening, and that's what misled the budget committee to think we weren't using it.
Right.
Because it wasn't being internally transferred, the money.
Now, this is a side issue, but we also talked about, right now, they have set aside $300 for burial, and it should be kicked up to $500.
Huh? Oh, but that's something Scott was gonna
Yeah,
utilize.
that's
So we get
That's a revenue end of it.
So I think we should leave it the way we calculated it, because I think that's the right. I think it's correct. So what do you folks think?
I have no problem aligning with the budget committee's number.
Okay? What would you like to do?
Well, let me see this. So the budget committee dropped this by 2720, right?
No, they
No,
just
no,
took around the
They took
number,
it 15 to 20. So their number is
Yeah.
4,000 for the total.
they reduced it by 1,200. So we're gonna bring, so they didn't say it was for mowing, but if you're gonna, there's not a whole lot left to move from. You know, you get fertilizing and
Yeah,
that sort of
but-
thing to do.
I mean, that has to be covered. So I'm gonna stick with what we have. And if they can work out taking some of that money from some of their other accounts, then that's fine. We've made some money.
Just as a formal action, I will make a motion to rescind the prior 5,200 Board of Selectmen approved number and align it with the budget committee's number of 4,000.
All right, do I have a second? Hearing none, motion dies for lack of a second.
I want a formal action. Okay. I have 4441.
Make my note here.
Which is welfare, I believe.
Yep. They want to, fuel, they want to drop the fuel
Right.
number. And bring it
Yeah,
down
that's
to
line
1,500.
10-850, dropped from 2,000 to 1,500.
And what was their justification for that?
Two things, I think. One was use pattern over the last year or so, and the other is fuel costs may be lower.
I don't remember the cost lower that they mentioned, but they did talk about the patent they thought was, I guess, better times are coming.
Well, I believe that.
Happy days of hearing it.
Yeah.
So I think I go along with that unless somebody's got some reason to tell me otherwise.
I don't have a problem with that.
You, Scott?
I don't know what it changes, but
It's only $500 change.
I'll make a motion to rescind the prior action on 4441 and to align with the budget committee's total number of 12,208 by reducing line 10-850 by $500.
I'll second that.
All right, Greg seconds that.
What number is this again? 4441, is it? No,
Yep.
4441.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye. So we're
Next
with
one I
the-
have is.
Hang on a minute, Swins.
wait a minute. So we're with the budget committee.
Notes here.
What's the total they have there now?
What, for the
For the
total we
budget.
ended up with is 12,208.
12,208.
Yeah.
It's just $500.
So drop 500 from our 12,708?
Yep.
Okay.
All right, what's the next one you got?
4140.
think there was only a $10 difference here, if I remember.
That's
right.
elections and registration.
Yeah.
Uh,
For some reason, we had 100,082 and they had 100,072.
I could
And
change
it
it.
comes out of the FICA, which I think was a miscalculation, and we chose those numbers.
Were our numbers
So
correct?
that's 95-225, sorry, 95-220.
No, when they refigured it, I believe that.
Yeah, there was a percentage, tenth of a percent off or something. It comes out to a $10 difference, not huge, but in order to align.
I'm sorry. So was the budget committee had the last amount that was correct? At the time we voted, we did not have that number.
That's
So we should go with,
We don't have it now, do we? We don't have a corrected sheet. This is not my newest sheet, is it?
No,
I didn't bring it down. I didn't bring my budget book down.
actually, you do have it correct.
you and I are gonna have to stay after school.
You have, make sure that you know what to do this.
I didn't either.
Back here.
No, it's right here. I don't see, yeah, that's the corrected number there. We had that number. That's the corrected number.
So they dropped it by 10,
$10.
Yep.
and that's the more accurate number.
Well, that's my understanding, yeah.
Is that correct?
I finance here in New Durham.
Best I can tell, I don't have it, and
Do you think,
$10 isn't gonna break the bank.
No, it's not huge, it's just a matter of formally aligning or not.
yeah, you want
When
to
you
make,
come, you know, at the end of this whole process,
just,
you wanna know which ones are different.
which ones we
You're
agree
gonna talk
on?
about $10, you're still gonna talk about $10, so.
Yeah, we might as well go ahead with the
Yeah.
budget committee.
Yeah. We'll
Yeah,
make a motion.
if it
Which ones?
saves conversation.
You wanna make that
Okay, I'll make a motion to rescind the prior approved number for account number 4140, adjusting line 95-220 to $3,926, making the account total $100,072.
I'll
What
second it.
was the number again?
100,072. You seconded, Dave?
See that? Yeah, I second it.
Yeah,
Becky
I
seconds it. Okay, any further discussion? All right. Who's in favor?
Aye.
All right. Unanimous.
All right.
Go yes. Hold on, let me make my notes. Oops, Okay.
Actually, we may want to table this one. I have 4152. I don't believe the budget committee has finalized this one. They tabled it to 11:30. Why don't we just skip that? We still have a difference in where they're
Yeah.
at, but they've not made any final actions. No sense in us going through it until they take a look at it. Okay?
Yeah, they haven't reviewed it yet.
Pardon?
They never got to that one the other night.
They reviewed it, and they had discussion on it, but they tabled it till 11:30.
Okay.
Had to do with line 10-115, the contracted and all that kind of stuff. So,
Issue on, yeah, 1/3 being revaluation costs.
yeah. Oh, yeah, might as well just wait for that one.
Yeah.
Next one I have is 4324, which is
Solid
solid
waste.
waste.
I got some handouts here, because I have made a couple changes in that. It's gonna be going back to the budget committee
Oh, they-
on
They haven't approved that?
30th. No,
That was also tabled till the 30th,
to the 30th.
because they wanted to have the corrected and approved Board of Selectmen hall rates and
Yes, correct.
tonnage rates and all that kind of stuff.
So in this one here, you'll see the, in the, yeah, you have the highlighted yellow is giving you the new rates to be plugged in. And that's under the department request.
I think,
And those are based upon our tonnages that are approved by the contract. And also, you will see that there is also an adjustment to the line 4324-10-580, which is designated as solid waste training. And there is a request in there for, under the safety equipment and supplies, for the staff to receive some uniforms, which I think is a, for the value, I think it's an excellent
It's about $500, about $580 for the year to get them uniforms. And they're in a pretty tough place to keep clothing, and I think it's a good,
We're the ones who put the trash in the bin.
well, hopefully they're doing
We
some
used to move
work.
a big bin around. Yeah, they're very helpful. They help people, move stuff off their trucks and stuff like that.
You know, they come up here, they collect the trash here, they're at the ball fields collecting the trash. They get their clothing soiled. If they're working on any of the equipment there, they can get their clothing soiled. So I think it's a,
On this, Scott, on the one you used to hand out, you show a budget committee requested amount, but I don't believe they've gone,
And they
just
don't,
made any decisions on this one.
I don't think that they have, because they went through it line by line, but they wanted to revisit it
Right.
when they had those final numbers.
So I'm saying, you have numbers in here, which are usually there after they've approved it. They've not approved this number yet.
No, they have not.
So everything corrected is under department request, too, right?
Correct.
It comes up to $246,092, right? And so what you're asking us to do is to either agree with that or change it, right?
Yeah, we're down, what, $5,000 or 4,000 something, less. What would have to?
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not sure we had the correct tonnage rates and haul rates and all that in our number.
No.
No, we did not, nor did we have that uniform thing either.
Well, that's true too, but
I
that's
don't-
fairly minor comparatively.
Right. I don't have a problem with this new number of 246,92.
Yeah, okay. And you use the average over.
3
roads
years.
Being,
We used a 3-year average.
3-year average and then one plus one, right?
Correct.
All right, sounds
Yep.
good.
Well, I'll make a motion to rescind the prior approval for account 4324 and have the line items per the department requested proposed budget handed out on 11/28/16, the total amount of $246,092.
I'll second that.
Okay, Greg seconds that. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The last one I had was 4210.
We can have this then, right?
Correct.
I'm sorry, what number again, Swin?
4210.
Okay.
That's the last one I asked, Scott. You don't have anything to do. This is the police department, and there was an extensive discussion with Board of Selectmen when we did this one. Budget committee had a similarly extensive discussion on it, but they have taken an action. And their number is,
499320.
that the handout? Yeah,
Yes.
looking for my final. 499320, I think, right? Yep. Yep.
And ours is at 488079.
They did make some adjustments that I didn't have any
In
problem
line, in
with.
various line items, yeah.
One was on 10645, and that was the animal care and service. Kachiko,
So just-
Valley Human.
They dropped it by
Society.
half?
Yeah, what it is, they've changed their fees. Now they charge per animal, rather than before we had to pay a membership fee. I'm gonna call it membership fee.
And they figured out how many
Yeah.
animals we do on an
On
average.
average, yeah.
Yep,
Well, then we can drop ours by $600.
right. We do that.
Let's do that.
And the other one was the police septic system.
Wait, I'm gonna change mine.
Okay.
Most likely, so we're
That's
gonna
right,
change
yeah,
600.
septic.
Okay. What's the other number now, septic?
Yeah, septic is, apparently, we get budgeted for
What's your number?
two cleanings of the septic system over there, and they decided that,
What's your number on septic? I got it,
Oh,
never
excuse
mind.
me, 412.
9412, I got it.
yep. And they said that once a year should be enough, which I more than agree. So that would
That drops that down.
$220.
220, good. We saved 820.
Now, whether you see other things or not, I don't know. I can say that I have, after listening to the budget committee, I didn't feel there was justification for the 32 hours per week of clerical time. There was talk of, there's an uptick once in a while. The only thing I heard about was a burglary. And so I did suggest, well, putting money away to have, take care of upticks. And the answer was no, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna just schedule it for every Friday, which is nice. So I don't know if you want to touch on those, or whether you want to just stick with this, or
Well, we went ahead and approved the 32 hours.
we did approve,
I'm sorry.
everything else we approved unanimously, and,
I'm sorry.
oh,
We approved the, where is she? Whatever it is. We approved the additional, 4 hours was it, I think, or something like that. I don't have a problem with
okay.
that. At this time, I don't. The more help they can get over there, the better it is.
Well, anyway, do you want to just go forward with what we had, and then make these minor adjustments of $820?
Yeah, I'd like to, lower our 488,079 by $820.
So I'll make a motion to rescind our prior approval and align with the budget committee's number for account number 4210 at $499,320.
Okay, do I have a second? All right, hearing none, the motion dies for lack of a second.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a motion to, let me get the numbers right.
So what we're saying is we don't agree with the budget committee's majority decision, okay?
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna
Well,
make,
majority of this stuff.
I'm gonna make a motion that we adjust what we had previously agreed upon.
Or we can just.
Well, I'm sorry, what?
Wait, it's, okay, yeah, go ahead, I'm sorry, go ahead. I
Well,
was thinking of
I
something.
butcher these anyway, but if you want me to do this, I will. Do you want to do it?
We can do it, or we can just leave it the same, it just isn't that kind of money that, you know,
Well, we could drop it,
just leave, why don't we just leave it the way it is?
you don't want to drop it $820?
No, I don't. Like you said, it might need help.
Okay. Well,
So we can-
we had put that in there. Okay, so we're not going to do that.
Yep,
So we're just going to leave it as is.
yep.
488,079.
Okay, that was all that I had.
That take care of you too, Scott?
Yeah, that's all I had. On record that I guess we're not supporting the police department's recommended and the budget committee's recommended amounts.
No, we're recommending our amount. Board of Selectmen's amount.
Okay, next.
Next is the code enforcement officer, building inspector, and deputy job descriptions. Yeah.
We have those, I separated them out so that we have the main code enforcement building inspector, and then we also have a deputy. Same thing with health officer, and then we also have a deputy health officer. In that situation, duties are mirrored in that, with the exception of, the application of, the deputy does work in concert with the building inspector. What I'd like to do in this situation here, ideally it'd be nice to get both of these job descriptions approved and on the books, and then also to work into a transition as far as having the permission to go out and advertise and post for the position of a deputy code enforcement building inspector. And a rate of pay would be determined based upon experience.
All right, any of the board members have anything to add or subtract, or are we ready to go forward?
No, I don't think you followed the recommendations that we had in the last one. I'm talking about the code enforcement, probably the health officer too, but first of all, on the deputy code enforcement, I'm assuming it also should be deputy building inspector. And then,
It says deputy code enforcement officer, building inspector.
I would suggest you add the word deputy before building inspector. It's not deputy code enforcement and the building inspector, it's deputy code enforcement and deputy building inspector.
Boy, seems like
Thought they do the same job.
That's the other objection, is you didn't really follow what we had said. I think the jobs can't be the same,
Why can't they?
because if you have both doing the work, who has the decision power?
Whoever's on duty.
So he assists, the deputy would assist, et cetera. That has to be reflected here.
I think it says in the absence, doesn't it?
It can say in the absence also. So he's not working unless the other one's absent?
I wouldn't necessarily say that.
So I think you gotta go back and kind of reflect on that a little bit more.
Well, let's be a little more detailed. So, in the absence, or
I have in
When-
the absence
or
of
when
the code
assisting?
enforcement officer, building inspector, the deputy code enforcement building inspector is responsible for the enforcement of the IBC building codes, site plan regulations, subdivision regulations, sign ordinance and zoning ordinance, and floodplain regulations. The deputy code enforcement officer / building inspector, which they're a combined job, is responsible for the same duties as a code enforcement officer / building inspector. I doubt very highly that they're both gonna be working at the same time, other than in the purposes of being able to collaborate and/or be able to be trained. In this situation that you have at this given time, is you have a building inspector that is looking to fade out of the picture and have somebody assume his duties and responsibilities, but we need to do a transition aspect of things.
did you hear where we're going? One is concerned with using a deputy code enforcement. Also, instead of having a slash there, I think he needs to have also say deputy building inspector. And then he's concerned about general summary in where it says in the absence of, that maybe the word assistance, assists, or something of that nature would be in there.
And assist.
That's, so far, that's all I've got out of this.
And to assist, is that what we're?
Well, I'm not sure, but I'm saying that to myself, I guess.
Okay. What are you asking for, Swin?
I'm asking for the job description to reflect that it's a deputy position, not the same thing as the position itself, as a senior position.
Well, I mean, he does the same thing as the code enforcement officer and building inspector. But if you're gonna just add something that he can also assist, I don't have a problem with that at all. Is that where you're headed?
Well, yeah, I think it has to be gone through and each one addressed accordingly.
But wouldn't you want him to be able to do,
But there's no question that the phrase at some point should be in the absence, he performs these duties, or duties, the duties of the building inspector, court enforcement officer, but I think the duties and responsibilities need to reflect
well, you could,
more of the assistant role as our deputy role.
yeah, you could put that in one sentence though at the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, he's done some of that in his summary,
No.
but it didn't quite meet what I was thinking it was gonna be.
Well, I mean, in the sentence, you could say that he is responsible for all the duties that the code enforcement building inspector is required to do, as well as to assist the code enforcement building inspector. And that kind of, I mean, you can clean that up for me, but wouldn't that just clear the whole thing for us?
That's what I'm saying, I think there has to be some additional cleanup on it, that's my point.
Yeah, but wouldn't one sentence at the beginning, in general summary, just do that?
I don't think so.
Well, I don't want to keep bringing it back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, that, to me, that would just clear it all up. And then the rest of this would be
In fact,
pretty much what the code enforcement building inspector does.
are you waiting on this, Scott? Does it need to be? In other words, are you ready to move on this?
I am.
To what
because
extent?
I'm not sure how much longer we're gonna
Beat this to death?
be able to maintain the current situation that we have with our fire chief doing our building inspection and code enforcement.
I think a sentence like that, the general summary for the deputy would clear it all up, wouldn't it?
Well, you can
It states that
we
his
could run this-
responsibility.
If he needs it, I don't, you can run it through now, and if you need to change something, go ahead. But if you need something to run with, I mean, to me, it's such a thin air
Yeah.
split.
That he has all the responsibility as a code enforcement building inspector, as well as being deputy, he is to assist. Or however you want to phrase it, I'm not a wordsmither, but I would think a sentence of something like that would do it. And then you wouldn't have to start going into each one of these line items.
I think it could be added right into the last line of the summary, just to add
Yeah.
in there the building, the deputy code enforcement officer / building inspectors responsible to assist the code enforcement officer and provides the same duties. I mean, they basically they're bound by the regulations which are
Right.
established by the town,
Right.
by their ordinances, their regulations, and also the IBC, I guess it's called, the International Building Code.
Well,
Um,
the only other thing is, I guess the word deputy is enough to know who's in charge. So you should, see that we don't have anybody
What?
disagreeing who's gonna do what. It's like, I'm the code enforcement officer, I'm gonna do that job, or I'm gonna leave it to you, that sort of thing.
Actually, it's covered in this general summary anyway. It says, in the absence of the code enforcement building inspector, the deputy code enforcement officer building inspector is responsible for the enforcement of the IBC building codes, site plan regulations, subdivisions regulations, sign ordinances, and zoning ordinances and floodplain regulations. The deputy code enforcement officer building inspector is responsible for the same duties as the code enforcement officer and building inspector. To me, that says it all.
Well, the issue is in the absence of means there is no code enforcement officer there with you. There could be a time when one assists. the other.
Assist, yeah.
Well,
You may
then-
have to have language
Like
in there,
training.
assist as
There
directed.
is, I mean, yeah.
There may be times where.
Yeah, I
he
think
will
you see some of
assist.
the issues that I have now, but there is actually perhaps an equally or more important core issue, and that is, I don't even know why we need it.
Don't know why you need what.
Deputy.
Oh, I think it's a good thing to have. We used to have a deputy.
Yeah.
I know it's,
Haven't had one for, what, 5 years, 4
yeah,
years?
probably something like
But
that.
we
6
actually
years?
we have things moving along now. I don't think this is a bad idea to have this.
I don't know why you want to increase administrative overheads.
I think it's good to have somebody
I think-
already
I think-
ready to go
Yeah.
in place. I like the idea of having, not being dependent on one person solely. And that when they leave, it's like there's a big vacuum. Then there's a panic because somebody can just
We have
fall in place.
we have a core difference of opinion, I think, on this.
Yeah.
Is that right?
I don't- you know, I
If
don't
you want to
think
add that last sentence, Scott, the assist or how.
I'm opposed to increasing overhead costs.
10,
Yeah,
what do you have there?
I said is responsible to assist as directed by the
don't
code
think it was.
enforcement officer / building inspector, and fulfills the same, I have already up above about the
Yeah, you don't have to
duties as a-
repeat that.
Yeah.
So you're just adding that key element. Well, I'm happy with that. So I'm ready to go on this with the changes.
deputy, we've got the code enforcement officer to do.
Okay.
I don't think we need any changes there, do we? I got my changes in there. About impact fees and steep slopes and wood lots and stormwater management down to the end of the last couple of bullets here. Which I think is real good to have, because it's pointed instead of being general.
Yeah, minor investigation enforcement
No, I
of
agree
all
with
planning
those.
zoning ordinances.
The code
Yeah.
enforcement, I don't have,
All right, well, why don't we?
it's the deputy part that
Why don't we?
I'm
do we-
objecting to.
Okay.
Well, then you're gonna make a motion then?
I think you'll be back to just having one anyways, you know, eventually.
Yeah,
Then if
yeah.
you're able to pick up somebody that wants to, you know, to help fill in, but that's.
So I'll recognize anybody in the audience?
Yes.
I just have a question. Is the deputy reporting to the health officer?
Or either the code enforcement.
Which would be the more senior person?
The code enforcement
Code
officer.
enforcement.
So the health officer,
Right,
and the
Or code
deputy
enforcement.
is the person that comes in and takes the place?
or
So-
assist.
Oh, so why wouldn't you, you know, in some of this, instead of ensures the safety and adequacy,
Right.
you know, supports and, or use language like that, so
That's my point.
you recognize that difference in the position, yeah,
Yeah.
because it.
Well, I said- I did-
That's my point, that's what we said
There's no
before.
identification, even in the general summary, it alludes to that in the absence of it, but I think you could strengthen some of the words in the bullet points, that it supports the health officer, assists the health officer instead of ensures, because when you have somebody who is a senior supervisor, they're the ones that are overseeing and ensuring something, whereas the person who's supporting that is supporting the person who is at the senior level. And I think that's, I'm not sure what David was trying to say, but as I read this, I was trying to figure out, is this changing this position to a deputy, or are these two positions? Who's the senior, who's not? Because it's not clear when you read it.
Well, I-
You
That
know
was the
what,
point, that was the point when I made when
you
we
know
first went
what
over
you
this.
want this to be, but anybody looking at this down the road would not be clear.
That's the
Well,
point I made when we first went over this a few weeks ago, that's the point I just made here earlier.
With words that are typically seen at that level, whether it's a manager supervisor, the supervisor, you know, supports and so.
The difficult part, and I agree with both of you, of course,
Yeah.
but, is Swen's, you know, I mean, it's kind of, this is a situation where the current building inspector, code enforcement officer is looking to step back, but, and really not be a supervisor, but more of a mentor in that situation there. I say a mentor just as far as
So
passing
this
on
could
some
be
historical.
a temporary one until that happens.
Correct.
But you're not gonna do away with
I
this.
still think it's a good thing to have, and I think by putting some of that language
Right.
in, just to, you know, say
I
supports.
mean, I've got all kinds of, if you don't need it, I've got all kinds of language when you start to get to the supervisory level. I can give you what those sound like, you know, support, assist, whatever.
Yeah.
That you take this, so instead of ensures the safety, you know, they're going to support that or do something in the absence of the officer.
Assist, aid,
Yeah.
support,
Right.
Yeah.
whatever, I mean, that's what I said earlier.
Facilitates or, you
Well,
know, that
what-
kind of language.
Wait a minute, though. When he is when the deputy is in charge, he is taking on all responsibilities.
Then all the
Well, it doesn't mean
assistant
that he's
supports.
not,
Yeah.
it's just that
He
when
no
you
longer
have a
becomes an-
manager, they oversee, they assure, they're responsible totally for it. The supervisor is gonna do those duties, but it ultimately falls, whatever you wanna do.
No, I see where you're going, but this isn't,
No, you don't.
this is, what we're saying here is the deputy is going to be the same as the building inspector. He has the same full responsibilities as the
Are they gonna get the same rate of pay? Is the deputy gonna report to the officer?
Yeah, what you wanted to say?
Well, but two things, based on the job descriptions for building inspector, code enforcement, and health officer, either you cannot defend two separate rates of pay because they're identical.
Exactly.
You're gonna
That
be
goes
opening the town up to major challenges of, you know, well, the deputy, excuse me, the building inspector, code enforcement works, for sake of argument, 5 hours a week, and he's making so much more money, and I'm doing all the work.
Mhm.
plus what happens if the deputy and the code enforcement disagree? Based on these job descriptions, the code enforcement officer will issue one decision and the deputy will issue another decision because that's how these are written. Also, both, as these are written, these both report to the Board of Selectmen.
Under the health officer by statute, they have to.
Health officers did, but code enforcement building inspector, these both report to the Board of Selectmen, and you're gonna have such
Now you see some of
diversity of opinions.
some of the rationale that went into my original statement 3 or 4 weeks ago and then repeated tonight is that these can't be the way they're written.
Well, then this changes what we want.
Well,
I
we used to
still
just
think- I
we
still
used to just
think-
say deputy.
I still think you need to have a deputy.
Deputy clearly when you use the term deputy,
Yeah.
it clearly states what that position is.
Not if the job description doesn't back it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we can do some reworking on that. My request now, I'll change that. My request now would be to advertise for a code enforcement officer, building inspector.
You're saying more than what you are saying. In other words. Yep. Where are you going?
You got one that doesn't want to be one right now, so.
So advertise for a code enforcement officer,
But he's willing to mentor,
which is fine.
which is fine, and
Yeah.
and that transition.
They get to my core
we can
point
do
that
that.
we differ,
Rewrite
we
the other one.
don't even need it.
And then if in fact he wants to drop into that mode and be the deputy and back him up. I think
Well,
that's
then I'm
perfectly
missing the
fine.
point. I thought at one time he just needed help.
No.
No. That was not how it was presented a month or so ago. It was,
Yeah.
that was the, it was a transition idea.
He does not want to be the building inspector, code enforcement officer.
That's
Well,
why.
then we're wasting our time with the deputy.
No,
No,
I still
I-
think you need to have a deputy, and I think to reconstruct the
Yeah. that
job
makes sense.
description's
Yeah.
the way to do that.
Well-
And I think,
Saying it a different
Well,
way,
that's your
now you get to my core, which I said we have a core difference of opinions. I don't think you need a deputy. But the point here is also that the Board of Selectmen should recognize and allow the current building inspector, code enforcement officer to be able to mentor him, even though it's not his official job at that point, and allow some way to have that accommodation. I don't have any problem with that.
yeah.
Whatever you want.
Well, it depends
what that
on
way is.
who applies for the job.
Well, that's correct. I mean, it all depends.
I mean,
on
if you get a trained, seasoned building inspector, of course, this is a
makes things a
part-time
little bit
job.
easier.
Yeah,
That's-
then there won't be necessarily a lot of
If you train
merit.
somebody.
If you get a person that's not been a building inspector, but wants to be one, then you've got a period of time where you're going to have to train and mentor that person.
That's just your transition process that you
Right,
set up.
right.
Yeah.
When you get somebody in and you'll set whatever those parameters are, what's the goals, what's gonna happen, and you outline them, and that's part of the whole transition process.
Yeah.
It could be a week, it could be 2 weeks, it could be a month, depending on the skill of what the person has.
Okay, you still need this moved?
The regular, we don't have one that I could find, the building inspector.
The code, not the deputy, code
Not the
enforcement.
not the deputy now.
And I think
just
you've
the-
made, I think, you know, David Bickford had recommendations on a
Same
couple of
thing for
things
health.
which you've incorporated, I think others have, I think Craig did.
Yep.
So I think you've incorporated those. That's not the one I had a problem with.
Yeah, the
The deputy
deputy.
one is the one I had to see
Yep.
some of the issues.
So,
What I used as my
So
rationale.
tonight,
for where I
we'll
came to
just
that
focus
conclusion.
in on this then. And then, well, then we're not really looking for a deputy here.
No, I mean, I think you do need to get one, and I think we can massage the job description so that it speaks to that, just, you know, with some.
Well, that's-
But that's not your urgent need.
No, the urgent need is, I think we need to get advertised, I think we need to get some, see what we have out there for a candidate pool, and.
As
start moving forward.
not certified, but as a seasoned, or however you want to phrase it.
You just
building
do it by
inspector.
qualifications.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that's a little different than, so we don't have to fuss with this deputy.
all right.
Well, eventually we will. I don't think it's gonna be tackled.
Well, that's if we cannot find a candidate that is a building inspector and has the ability to be a full-time building inspector. That doesn't need to be trained. If we get somebody like that, we're fine. Now, if we need to train someone, that's a different ball of wax.
Well, I mean, yes and no.
For now,
We can work through that.
Yeah.
I do have-
I'm gonna make a,
Sorry, I do have one change
Okay.
for this, not on this is on the regular one. On page 2, second paragraph, you start off with zoning enforcement officer. We've not defined any zoning enforcement. It should be code, I think. Yeah, should be, yeah. You may want to do a word search. I didn't go through everywhere, but you may want to do a word search to make sure that's clean all the way through. Cut and paste, got an estimate. Yeah, I kind of understood that. But that's why I wanted to call it out, to make sure you correct that before you finalize.
Yeah.
But I said, do another word search just to make sure I didn't miss anything when I breezed through it.
That's a shame.
I'll make a motion to approve the job description presented to us tonight for the position of code enforcement officer, building inspector. Period.
Well, with the amendment change, Swins came up with.
As amended.
As amended, as amended, thank you.
You're welcome. And I'll second that.
All right, Greg seconds that. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, it's unanimous.
Table the deputy.
Do we need to talk about this in non-public, about timing on this, or,
On the,
well, you're gonna start posting this,
yeah,
correct?
yeah, we'll probably get something out in the paper here next week or so. Once this is all signed, I'll make
And
the
then,
edits.
then what are we looking for, a part-time building inspector then, not a deputy?
Correct.
Okay, all right. And do we need to make a motion for the health officer?
Yeah, I mean, I think
Yeah,
it's good to do it. Do it the same way.
I just,
We'll recognize them in the areas.
oh, yes, Terry, get some help for us.
Under essential duties and responsibilities, you've listed some, the usual sanitary facilities, childcare facilities, etc. There's a whole other category of facilities that require inspections by health officials. So you might want to put some language in there about, if you don't want to specify the two other statutes, you might want to put some language that includes, like you might say, inspects facilities to enforce state and local health and safety standards, to include, but, including but not limited to childcare facilities, new title, residential care and child placement services. Because you've got 151, you've got, can't think of the, your community residences, your chronic behavioral health. And they, when I was regulating them, they all required health inspections by local officials.
Okay. Yep.
And anything else that comes down the pipe that we don't recognize at the moment.
Yep.
Well, wouldn't that cover that under state issues of the license to operate? Well, it says, it's specific then, it says a restaurant.
That's specific to
Right.
restaurants.
Yeah,
Because
that,
I think also.
Yeah, I think you
Open
just
that
make
up
the
there.
change to that.
I think also under the business category for the planning board people, can't you have an assisted living facility by exemption?
I'd say for all operations.
And they've got a huge slew of health regulations.
So there's more statutes that
There's
would,
more statutes that
Needs to
aren't
be cited.
listed.
Yeah, he did
That's
decide.
why I'm thinking
Can that do it?
health and safety
Maybe she can
standards,
State
including
issues
but
of
not
license
limited
for
to.
all
Maybe she can help
operations,
Scott.
operating. Would that do, that?
you think you've got them all, or?
I just-
I don't
think
know
there's
them all
more?
off the top of my head. And to be honest, David, even when I was doing the business, I would come across some that I didn't
Yeah.
even know were out there.
Yeah,
Yeah, so what we're gonna have to do is just encompass them all.
Do we, I mean, there should be,
but not limited
yeah, there
Yeah.
should be health officer JDs that other towns have that we could.
to. Well,
Plagiarize it.
if anybody's got something, it would be the state.
Yeah.
Well, what happened?
Yeah, I can find out. I'll ask if they have a,
Well, the Department of Health doesn't always know, because what happened to me was that I would have somebody come to get a license, as a residential or healthcare facility, and we send them a form that said, okay, get it signed by health, building, and fire in your community. And some of the communities wouldn't sign it because they would say, well, no, we don't have the authority to do that. I could always find it specifically for fire and I could find it for building, but the health officer ordinance is a little funky and it's not really
What if the
clear.
state
So
would
that
have
if you
some
put
sort
in
of
your job
terminology that
description,
you could
it's
call
clear
it?
to everybody.
Yeah, I think just,
That is-
and any other state required
These are the
Yeah.
highlights, but it's including but not limited to.
inspections.
I don't think you need including, just not, but not limited to. You
Yeah.
list them. You've already said that,
Yeah,
right?
and just
Well,
make it broad.
I think Scott has something here.
Yeah, I mean,
All right,
any other state required,
Yeah.
yeah. But
Any other
you need
state
to tweak that one a little
requirement
bit. Just need to tweak that one a little bit. I mean, the idea that you need one is correct, but then table the deputy on that one too. Okay, that's not holding you back at this time. No,
So we can hold off on this one?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I'll ask the state if they have anything that has to be spelled out.
Right. For a health officer.
Yeah, because they get their direct, actually, we don't really appoint them.
Yeah, we
State-
recommend.
We recommend to the state appoints them and gives them their,
One of the statutes is RSA 151. I can't think of the other one.
yeah, 151, yeah. It's a fire, but that's a,
That's
150, yeah,
residential.
151, is that a occupancy?
No, that is the enabling statute for all residential and healthcare facilities, with the exception of well children.
Check that out, thank you.
All right, good, thank you for that. That's helpful. So we can slide on that.
You bet.
Citizen complaint regarding the performance of the town employee.
I still get some things here that it seems more complicated than what we need.
I have a suggestion for actually both the next two. We've just completed the committee that was done as part of the mediation last spring. Why not refer these two, their first two policies for that committee to review and come back with their recommendations?
Well, no, they're set up to review and only review the police department, fire department, and the highway department. The highway department doesn't have any regulations, policies and procedures. The fire and the police do, and that's what was brought up, and that's what they should stay focused on. They're not to get into every policy and procedure that we do.
I don't mind somebody looking at it, though. I
I
have
think-
issues with that, but,
I have a problem with that.
but it's not, no, you're right, it's not their responsibility.
No,
To,
no.
the way it was set up, it's not. But, starting at number 5, the first sentence at the end, it says charged, I struck that out into the, just the word charged. Moving on to the next sentence,
Wait a minute, wait a minute. So you want to remove the word charge
yeah,
into the grievance?
yeah, just investigation into the grievance.
I didn't hear which one. What
It's
number?
Five.
kind of saying it twice,
What number
grievance
you
and
on?
charged. Oh, 5.
First sentence, last word.
Leave it, end of the sentence of charged, and then,
Cross out charge is what you're asking.
Yeah. and the next line, at the end of that line, but they must specify the method. I'm not sure how many methods there are. And I'm not even clear why it's necessary to specify. You know, to make it to must specify. So I'm not sure as I care for that in there. The 6, I see that as a town administrator.
So wait a minute, you want to remove
I don't-
that entire sentence?
I think so. It's one of those things I'm waffling on, I guess. May choose the appropriate method. I mean, I stop it at the comma, but to say it must specify the method, I don't even know what methods there are, except town administrator, go investigate. So I know so far. No, we did do one other one where we had to hire a company to do investigation. I just, you get all these steps to take, next thing you know.
Right.
And unless they're important steps, I'm going like, why put it in there?
Simplify.
To trip yourself up with.
That's exactly right. You simplify everything. I don't see the problem pulling that thing out.
Number 7, I circle the individual entity conducting the investigation. And I made a note, that being the Board of Selectmen. We use it often as town administrator, more times than not that I know of. But
What number is it?
that was
7.
number 7, but I'm reflecting back to it if I remember right. When I go to 7A, I've got, the town administrator is authorized to determine appropriate disciplinary action upon a finding of a valid complaint. And then I see in the next B, it says, a recommendation for disciplinary action. So I'll go like, well, maybe determine really should be recommendation to kind of work with that, with B. To determine means it's pretty finalistic. Aren't you really recommending to the Board of Selectmen for appropriate action, disciplinary action? Is already determined. It doesn't play well with the word recommendation on
Yeah.
B.
So what you're asking for is just,
Yeah,
this
this
place to determine whether to recommend.
Yeah, at this point, that would be,
It actually should be like, the disciplinary action shall result in a separate hearing in which the employee is present to respond.
oh, you're right.
But,
Yeah, no, you get a point there. Yeah, you may want to take note of that, and then come down on the on that same paragraph, next to the last line. And you'll see next to the last word there, the word being, which I think should be B.
What number was that?
7 still.
No.
Yeah, go down to the bottom of the paragraph, see where the word session.
Well, B
See above it,
is
see
public.
B instead of being. Yeah.
Yep.
And then I've got,
Dump session, you're saying? Dump session?
Oh, above here.
no,
Yeah.
yeah, above the B, see where it says being, cross out the ing. To be, just use the word be. Then on number 8, Board of Selectmen will provide a written response to every complaint filed with and investigated by them. And I say, go back and see 7,
Yeah, we don't, you know,
the individual entity conducting the investigation.
we don't investigate all of it. It's somebody else sometimes investigate.
Right, now there's a presumption that the Board of Selectmen are doing the investigation, whereas
Right.
prior to that, there's almost a presumption that somebody else is doing the investigation.
That's right, so that does make sense. We're supposed to provide a written response to every complaint file.
You just end it right there.
And do
You
we,
could just end it right there
do we want to,
Where's that?
after the word filed.
Yeah.
do we want a written response? Can it be verbal sometimes?
Should be in writing.
You should think it should
Mine's
always
written.
be in writing,
You want
okay.
an official response.
Okay, a written response to every complaint?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you basically give a written response if it was a founded complaint, unfounded complaint. And that's it. You don't say
Every-
anything, you don't
well-
say anything more about it.
Well, wait a minute then, we shouldn't say every complaint then. We
Whoever the
should say
complaint is.
Every,
Doesn't say that.
every valid
I think
complaint.
it does earlier on, because it talks about,
Do we want to specify that before a complaint?
No. I actually think you want it every complaint. You can indicate that it's a very simple sentence, we reviewed it and found it, and see it as unfounded, but I think you want to respond to every claim. Someone that's gonna write a written complaint wants to be acknowledged that, A, you looked at it, B, what your findings were. It could be that we found it not to be founded, but you still respond officially.
The only trouble, the part with the word filed, I think works because it works with a written complaint. Because now you get somebody that comes up to Scott Kim and says, hey, you know, so-and-so is doing such and such. Then they come back and say, hey, you didn't do anything about it. And does this mean he's gonna have to make a written response every time somebody just tugs on his shirt sleeve and whispers something in
The
his
process
ear?
is,
And he doesn't know whether
they
it's
have to
true
write a
or it's
written
not true.
complaint.
Well, it's gonna happen anyway, it's gonna continue.
try to
So what
get,
you tell them is,
I would try to get people to memorialize it.
Yeah, but most, I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm not sure if I use the word most, but I know a lot of people aren't gonna do it. And they're gonna say, you know something, later on, they're gonna say, I told him. I told him about that graft, I told him about that sort of thing, what's going on. And they wanted me to write something up, and I knew if I did say something, I was gonna be retaliated against, that sort of thing. And so, I don't know how you can control that. And he would want to look into it if somebody came up and spoke to him on the side. All right, now I've got number 9.
Okay, so we're going to get rid of with and investigated by them, right? We're just going to say to every complaint
I
filed.
believe so, yeah. I'm just telling you the things that I found
I don't have a problem
awkward
with
about
these.
it.
Yeah, okay.
Sharing that with you. Also on number 9, the last 2 sentences I thought should be better off to just strike.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. You- It goes back to some things you cannot do in public.
Well, you don't, this is all, it is non-public, and it's not
Yeah,
that
but-
it isn't a good thing to do, it's just that you don't need that step to.
I mean, if we're talking about, you know, an employee and so forth, you can't make a disciplinary action publicly. You can do it privately and non-public, but you can't disparage a employee.
Gotta understand what number 9 is doing. Number 9, first sentence is pretty critical. Understand the next 2. In this case, the situation is that they have found it to be either harassing, intentionally abusive of the process, etc. So I think making that a matter of record is appropriate, saying how you handle it. You handle it by saying, this is the 15th complaint on the same issue by the same person, and we find that we've already investigated it, and there's no need further. And you memorialize that in a statement and done.
Well, you can do that, this doesn't say you can't do it.
No, but I think you
Having,
want-
not having it doesn't say you can't do
But
it,
I
it
think you
just,
want-
this says you must.
Yeah, the public, I think you want the public to know how you're going to handle inappropriate complaints. That is, complaints that are harassing, you know, repetitive, unfounded, etc. I have no problem with this.
You have to be careful there.
Oh. Joan, you wanna say something?
Well, it's almost contradicting itself. It says, if they choose to do so, they must make their reasoning. So it's almost like if they choose to do so, you will make your reasoning. I mean, it's not a must.
Well, I made the assumption if they choose to do the sentence above.
Right.
Right.
And that they must now,
Yeah.
do the
If
following.
you have determined it's harassing,
yeah.
directly and intentionally abusive, etc., then you must make that on
That-
record.
That sentence should be taken out.
Which
Yeah.
one?
The minute you say if they choose to do so,
Oh, you don't need it, yeah.
you don't need it.
You know,
Take the sentence out.
yeah.
Yeah, that part's okay.
I think so.
Can we read it?
Yeah. That, I don't have a problem
I
taking
just
that
can't-
part of it out.
All right,
Take a
but
note.
leaving the rest.
and then I went.
So we're taking that sentence out, correct?
Just that first phrase, if they choose to do so.
And then it starts with they.
Right.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes,
They
yes,
must.
yes.
No, they must make their reasons and results action a matter of record. We've already addressed that earlier on by a written response. The minute you start saying we have to do this, and that, and the minute you miss one of those, it's like a union contract, you get in trouble. So you don't want to put yourself in a corner, and that's what you're doing here.
All you have to do is follow the policy. You don't get yourself in trouble
This
if you
this
follow
is
the
a
policy.
different, this is a different situation though.
Yeah.
Because you're dealing with somebody who's, in regards to these type of, superficious,
Yeah.
nature
You need to
and
change it.
harassing, and this is
Well,
basically you want to be able to try to stop people from doing this type of action, so you publicly actually end up putting that out.
You
Well,
may wanna
I'll
just,
tell you-
you may just want to reword that and just say, the resulting action, and reason, will become a matter, of something of the selectmen's minutes or something
like
like
that.
that. And that way, it's not as, must, but it is, it does outline what you'll do next. Because I think you'd want to have it in your minutes, you want to have a record on something.
Yeah,
And it doesn't say it's an absolute, but it opens the door, so put some language that just says that.
It's,
I
yeah, it's all right,
the resulting action.
The problem I have with this is if you have some crazy
Yes.
resident that has a dislike for a particular employee, and they do one complaint after another complaint after another complaint, that's, and we say, no, these are just, super flirtious, excuse my butchering that word. I don't want that publicly known, because the minute you say a resident has made 15 complaints against an employee, we might look at these and say, no, they're just not justified. But it's hanging out there against that employee.
Nobody's saying these are public.
You're not saying what
That's
I'm
the
doing.
Nobody's saying these are public.
that's the opposite of my concern. My concern is I want to have the choice of whether to come out and say, this person's, I'm not. In other words, I've dealt with so many mentally ill people in my life, and I don't like to embarrass them, but in particularly their families. And so I want to give them a free pass, maybe the first 2 times. But after that, I'll probably come out and say, you gotta stop this stuff. You just.
Yeah, but we can say it to that individual. I don't think it should be public knowledge.
Well, it says in the appropriate,
Nobody's saying this is public.
Well, it says right here,
Where?
result in action, a matter of record in the appropriate selectmen.
That's what non-public minutes
meeting
are, is a
minutes.
record.
Well, if you want to put non-public
Sealed
minutes,
non-public minutes are a record.
well, then we need to say it. But it doesn't say there. It says selectmen meeting minutes. It doesn't say anything about
Yeah,
sealed non-public. So if you were going to go with this, you've got to put this in again, of the sealed non-public then.
That's what the word appropriate does.
The only way you can do it anyways is to have a majority vote.
it says must make. You made a policy that says you must.
I would take the must make out.
Huh?
I would take the must make out and start with the resulting action or actions, a matter of record
You know,
in the appropriate selectmen's meeting minutes.
policies,
But see,
a set of guidelines, and I don't mind that, but when you start putting must and shall, and that
Yeah.
sort of thing,
If you
you're going beyond a point.
That's why I would take it out.
if you get
Oh,
two,
I guess I didn't hear you right then.
Yeah, take it
Yeah,
out.
take
Just
it
say the resulting actions.
Would you
Be
want
a
to have
matter
a
of record.
record somewhere? I mean, does it have to go, just help me, I don't know the process, so just help me out. Does it have to be in the minutes, or is there just, if you had a log and a record somewhere so that you know you can keep record of what you do?
We-
That's typically what
Businesses do.
I would advise, is that, when you start to have it, you're keeping a log.
right,
Here's the date, what was the incident, or what was the action, and so you've got some, results on there. So you might put in there, the reason why we didn't do this was it was found to be that way.
all complaints, but all complaints are in a file in the town administrator's
Right.
lock cabinet. So some of those do not have to get out in public.
Right.
And.
So I would just strike this, that one as far as that it must be in the minutes, that you would want to just maybe keep that as part of the record in a log somewhere, if that's what you.
Well, we've said that earlier, so we could take this whole thing out.
If you
I don't
can't-
think you want to
No.
take it out. I
No.
think you need to have somewhere there, if you've determined that something is
What you-
bogus or.
What you can do, the way you can do is say the resulting action and rationale
Right,
will be kept on file.
right. Something in that matter.
Well, will and must are the same.
I understand that.
All right, I talked about that one enough. On the,
Well, wait a minute, well, then I don't have a problem with this. If we get rid of that, if they choose to do so, that sentence, and put in something,
The reason and determination, or
Right.
whatever, starting it from there, will be kept on file, or however you want to say that. But yeah, there's a record of it. I think you'd want to
The
keep
resulting
some type
action
of
and
record of
rationale.
that.
well,
because
we do
you're-
that.
The resulting
Correct.
action and
Yeah.
rationale
Yeah.
will be
Yeah.
kept on file.
No complaint is ever thrown away. It's,
I understand that, but then if you've got somebody, at least you have that as part of your record somewhere.
right,
You
right.
could even put a section on the bottom of the complaint form or the back of the complaint form where you're tracking different things like complaint notified of receipt, date turned over to be investigated. You keep on coming down, you might have one that says,
We-
what is what is selectmen determined to be investigated, yes, no, if no, give reasons why.
Well, I mean, we, up above here on the first part of that, we kind of allude to that there's a process. But we don't put a time on this process, which we do not want to do. Because you don't know how long it's gonna take to do a complaint.
I didn't say put a time on the
Yeah,
process.
yeah.
I said you want to put dates that you make decisions. The date that you receive the complaint, the date you make the decision, it's going to be investigated or it's not going to be investigated. You log the date.
yeah,
Well,
we do that.
we do that, yeah.
Yeah, it's just a running log.
Yeah, but-
Yeah, we don't have to put it on the actual complaint.
Yeah, you put it on the back side of the complaint. To be,
However you want to
for
handle it.
administrative.
As long as you
That
have
way it
a
doesn't
log
get lost.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Scott knows.
Yeah, and that's what we've set up.
All right, on number 10, I thought that really had two things in it, and I didn't know, but at the second sentence, just add a new paragraph.
I'm sorry, what again?
In other words, 10 should just have that sentence of all citizen complaints, records shall be kept with the town administrator.
Right.
Then you start a new paragraph, all complaints which are founded and result in disciplinary action. Shall be
Give that
kept-
its own number,
Yeah,
make a number 11.
Yeah.
yeah, that's 11, and then change 12. And that's what we're talking about here. That one picks up what we've been talking about. Number 10,
When-
all citizen complaints records shall be kept with the town administrator.
I think that's number 10. I think the next one you make is a number 11.
We are,
Yeah, all complaints.
right, that's
Which
11.
result in disciplinary action
Yeah,
shall be placed in the employee's
yeah,
personal
that's what we just
file.
said.
Yeah,
That's what we just said.
we've said that, that's
Okay,
11.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Now, I did want to ask, one more thing is, we talk about disciplinary action until we get to number 10, and then, which will now be 11, there's corrective action plan. Is corrective action plan a subset of disciplinary action, or is it,
Part of it.
does it flow in with, so if the town manager is authorized to recommend appropriate disciplinary action upon
Yeah,
a finding of
sometimes
valid.
that may only be.
So the corrective action would be also, so that terminology should also be up with disciplinary? Or does just disciplinary cover it? Because you get two different, is it two different actions here, or is it one a subset of the other?
No, I think it's all part of one.
Well, you have to have a corrected action plan point if you're gonna put something in someone's files and you want them to improve.
Okay, so you're all set there, good, that's all I have.
And that falls in 11 now. And then 11 becomes 12, and 12 becomes 13. So there are some changes here. You want to rework this?
Yep.
Okay.
Did you have anything to add, Swinton?
Not at this time. I'll see what the provisions look like. I've said
Okay.
a few things along the way, so.
Now, on the Town of New Durham policy use of town-owned vehicles, equipment, supplies, and facilities, we've all had time to look at this. We've added and subtracted what we wanted to do. I think we should move along on this.
All right, no? Have anything to add, Ms. Swins?
Yeah, there's no need for it. We already have a policy that covers it, but I don't see any sense in this, and it'll be,
Where's the policy that covers this?
it's called the ethics policy among others.
Yeah, well, the ethics policy, and we've talked about this, is not clear. And this has been the problem all along with a lot of our policies. We don't make them clear, we don't make them simplified. And, you know, we want the employees to clearly understand.
We agree to differ, Greg.
Well, I understand that, but we want the employees to clearly understand what they can and cannot do. And clearly, the ethics policy is mushy at the best, and no one knows how to follow it, and no one has. We have people taking personal property, we have people giving property to other people, we have a supervisor having an employee under him take some town property and take it to his home on town time with town equipment. And when that employee was asked about it, his response was, well, we've done this all along. This is something that's normal. Well, if they have that feeling, then they clearly do not understand that it is wrong. And this is why we spent the time to go into these different matters. We also went into this about the usage of vehicles, who can use them and who couldn't. We want to clarify and simplify this. And if we don't, we're just asking for trouble.
All right, in that case, I will make a motion to adopt the policy on use of town-owned vehicles, equipment, supplies, and facilities that is presented to us tonight.
I'll second that.
All right, Greg seconds that. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in
You want to
favor?
recognize someone from the audience?
Well, I don't-
You do realize, based on this policy, that the fire station could not have been used for the meal after one of our former town employees died. That was not an official town function, and that has been done several times for former town employees.
Well, we've addressed that in another policy.
This policy says,
Where does it
for
say?
other than official town activities.
Which number is that?
Policy, employees shall not use or allow the use of town vehicles, equipment, supplies, and facilities for other than official town activities.
Now you know why some of my rationale for my conclusion,
Are you,
among others.
is that number 2 you're speaking of?
No, I'm speaking to the
That's
policy.
in the policy. Policy statement itself. No, the policy.
The policy statement says that you cannot use anything for other than official town activities.
Also means that the fire company, association, or whatever can't use community room.
Correct.
So now you know why I have a problem with it,
Well-
among other reasons.
Well,
Go ahead and vote it in,
Oh,
not a problem.
thank you, Terry, for that.
And,
Information.
yeah, there's also some potential conflicts, the way I read it,
well, just add it like.
Yeah, you think?
within that policy itself.
Excuse me?
Within the policy itself, you say, hold on. Okay, employees shall not use or allow the use of town vehicles, equipment, supplies, or facilities for other than official town activities. Employees may not transport relatives, friends, or any non-employees in a vehicle owned by the town unless it is authorized by the town administrator and/or Board of Selectmen. That, I can think of how two different departments use town vehicles. They're not official town activities, but they're, at least one is required by law, and the other department would do it as a courtesy.
Yeah, well,
there's
if you
a-
read on, it
Wait a minute,
says,
wait a minute. I want to hear what she has to say.
The police department by law has to transport prisoners in vehicles. The fire department, as a courtesy, has transported, say, the wife of an elderly patient where we could not put them in the ambulance because of care situations, we've transported them to the hospital.
Can't do that.
Wait a minute.
Um, We've transported minors to the hospital.
Wait a minute, it says unless it's authorized by the town administrator or the board of selectmen.
Well, that would
Are
be
you
a
gonna have a board
situation.
meeting at 2 o'clock in the morning to authorize the fire chief to transport this 85-year-old wife of a patient to the
No,
hospital?
you're missing the point here.
That's
The
what
point,
it
No, no,
says.
wait a minute, wait a minute.
you're speaking that.
You all, wait a minute, are you all set, Terry, to hear what he has to
I just want to
say?
point out that if you want a policy that's clear, this is what it is saying.
Yeah?
No,
All right.
Okay.
Have a response?
okay, this is why we put in town administrator and or board of selectmen. Now, the town administrator can set policy in advance. The department head can go to the town administrator and say, these are the options, and this was the concern when we had the highway department saying that they were plowing, a lady got snowbound in her car. And if you're reading the past policy, they could not take that person, put them in a town vehicle and transport them back home. What we're saying now is that these are issues, and the whole point was there are going to be exceptions to these rules. And the exceptions to the rules can be looked at very easily by the department head, town administrator, board of selectmen, saying under these circumstances, you are allowed to do this.
So you put it in the policy.
That's not in there.
You don't have to put it in the policy. It already says it, town administrator, board of selectmen. You're not saying that each action has to be approved. You could,
Yeah, it does.
It does.
Yeah, but that's only for transportation,
but you
town
could,
administrator and board of selectmen. The only ones, let's see, is 1 and 3 the issue? Because number 2 should not be an issue, should it? That's benefit all, it's almost
We only
identical.
have one copy and we're all sharing it.
Oh,
Hence, you see my problems with the objections to this policy to begin with.
no.
I think so, I'm beginning to.
Yeah,
Well,
which I've tried to express all along.
Well, she's doing a better job of expressing it, that's all.
Well, I'm glad you recognize it.
She's
I'm glad you
talking-
recognize
she's
from a
talking
different source that it's okay.
She's talking my language.
Okay, that's good.
Number 2 is not a problem. Some of this I don't have a problem with.
Yeah, so it's 1 and 3?
Well, no, it's the policy statement itself.
Okay, we can always amend these, and I've amended this. And what I've done is, at the end of that policy is facilities for other than official town activities unless approved by the department head, town administrator, and or board of selectmen. That ends it. That ends it.
That's the kind of situation that we have. Why do you need a new policy?
Right, exactly.
No,
That's kind of-
because we had employees not asking the department head, the town administrator, the board of selectmen, can I use this vehicle for my private use?
That's a personnel issue that the department head should be dealing with as a personnel issue.
But the point is, the department head was allowing this.
Then that's a personnel issue that the town.
Well, this is why we have this policy now.
Well, all right,
I like the one I gave you. I go back to what I said before, you already have one in place for it.
But it doesn't clearly define
yeah,
it.
we've been told by other people that what we have is not adequate. So, okay.
I haven't heard anybody but you and Greg mention that.
What?
All right.
I've never heard anybody but you and Greg mention that.
You ever heard Carter mention it?
Nope.
Do
Okay.
these get run by like your legal counsel or advisors or anything? I mean, you
I did.
I mean, I think when you read some of these, the way it's written, this one and the previous one, you back yourselves into corners that anyone with counsel or anything would be advising you, Primex or whatever, to say, you need to take a look at this particular language.
Well, I don't mind
All
that.
right, that's,
I don't mind that. I think we can make these minor changes, send it to council, and move along on this.
I want-
But
You have a motion on the
but
table.
here's the
You have a
point.
motion on the table and a second.
Well, we're still discussing.
I know that, but you have a motion on the table.
Here's the
and a
point.
second.
We have had 5 incidences in the last year that have not been addressed properly and have been a violation and in another town, a firing offense of some employees.
Well,
When we talk to the employees, they say to us, we've been doing business like this all along. And so this first came to light when we had the fire chief and the police chief taking their family members around in their personal, or in their town vehicles. They didn't have permission to do it, they just did it. And the understanding was, we've always done it that way, so we're gonna continue.
So, you know, when you have situations like that, I'm not disputing the policy or not, but when you have situations like that, and it's always been, then you say, you know what, it's a new time and era, here's how we're gonna handle this. You know, not necessarily doing it, but putting them on notice.
That's
And
what
then-
this is.
No, I'm just talking about the process of how you handle it. So that if when they do it again, because you're saying you've had issues over the year, this last year, 5 or whatever, I don't know what it is, then the next time there's a problem, you get to a written warning, or
Yeah.
however you want to handle it.
This
But-
violation of the policy will result in disciplinary actions up to and including termination, and may result in legal consequence.
If you've got that kind of language in there, then I would say you've got to run that by either
I don't have
Primex or your lawyer.
Well, I think we should run every policy with them. I
But
don't have a
that
problem.
hasn't been done even with this yet.
Well,
So I'm going to withdraw my motion, and we'll get another look at this,
yeah.
all right?
So it was seconded by Greg. Greg, are you withdrawing your second?
I'll withdraw the second if we've made the changes that we've talked about tonight
Yeah.
and sent it to our council.
Well,
But
Mike,
this needs to get done because you're unaware of what we understand and
I'm not
know.
I'm perfectly aware of it,
disagreeing
Greg.
Where you
Yeah.
have
I'm
it.
perfectly aware of it, and this is
the-
not needed.
And the point is, we've got to correct these problems. It's not fair to the taxpayers, nor is it fair to the
yeah,
employees. So-
I don't think they disagree with that, Greg.
I-
I think,
I'm
let me, just for a minute. I think your points are valid, but I also think her points, or their
Well,
points are
I don't
valid.
disagree with what they're saying.
Because they're concerned about capturing unintended people into this.
Unintended consequences.
Yeah,
I like the fact that exceptions are only made by the town administrator and the board of selectmen.
well, we
Because
only
when you
did,
give it to department heads, you're gonna get into the situation where one department head A might say, oh yeah, you can use the vehicle for that. But department head B is gonna say, no, you can't use the vehicle for that.
Well,
You lose consistency from department to department. So that.
well, that's why I limited the town administrator and the board of
I
selectmen.
think, but we only did that on transportation.
Yeah.
So I think we need to, we'll look at it some more, and see if we can't take care of those loopholes. you might say.
Well, it's also leadership, and we haven't had that. The town administrator's going to understand what we have here. He's gonna call in the department heads and say, this is the new policies, you need to have every employee read this and sign off on it. So everybody clearly understands their responsibility here. And some of these issues here, well, almost all these issues are not clearly defined in the ethics policy. So the ethics policy doesn't work here, and we've seen it not work. Scott had a paragraph and it wasn't clear. Other towns have done part of that paragraph.
Maybe it hasn't worked because you haven't supported it properly.
Well,
the ethics policy.
well, all right.
Whatever, I mean, I
Yeah,
just think, I think David summed it up. I mean, you don't want to capture things that you don't want captured in a policy when you write it. So, you know, having, you know, Primex or someone else take a look at it so that make sure that, I think it's a good process.
I have said this a year ago or a year and a half ago. I think all policies should be set through by the attorneys these days.
Absolutely.
So instead of us making a motion and moving on it, next time what we need to do is just agree to send it to an attorney,
Make our changes.
and then have it come back before we adopt.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, that's
Um,
like 101.
Do you,
I mean, it is, I mean, that's what you tell, you know, you write it up, you draft it up, you take a look at it, then you run it by your counsel, who's gonna advise you once a way, and then you bring it to whatever committee it is to vote on it.
see,
And
we need a
that's
policy
how-
on making policies.
That's right.
Right.
Well, wait a
Oh,
minute.
thank you though, thank you for that. We need
Should
to
I
ask
dwell on this with
ourselves-
Swins or not?
No,
He's in agreement that we don't need this, that the ethics policy covers all this. And
Oh, I felt it did too, but like I say, I've been told that it doesn't cover it, and it's too wishy-washy, and we need to be clearer, so I'm willing to
Yeah.
look at
Who's told you
more
that?
stuff. Carter did, for one.
I never heard it,
All right, well, maybe you weren't there when I was talking with him.
perhaps.
I thought you were, but.
Anyway,
Do we want to do minutes, or do we want to move into non-public and then see where that takes us for time?
well, I mean, we have what,
If we don't. do
14
minutes,
sets of minutes or something?
we need to
I
come
think we're
back-
gonna need a
we
separate
to come
meeting
back
for those.
Another
yeah.
day soon.
We do have to, I think there is an issue in non-public, right, that you had, so that may take precedence over the minutes, but the minutes should not be postponed very long.
I agree.
I
So,
mean, it's
is that,
kinda-
given that being the case, is there any other day
Just
this
quick,
week anybody can?
Just quickly,
do minutes?
Scott has all but one minutes that I've made suggested revisions for. I don't know, he may want to pass those out so everybody has them. I don't know if
Oh,
everybody
okay.
else has
That
copies.
would help, yeah.
That doesn't mean we have to go through them tonight, it's just so that you have them and can
Yep.
compare when we're
And then I
ready.
don't have,
I've only got one set that I've yet to do out of all this list.
is that my, is that? So we have to add this.
Public, I assume? How many we got? We got one? Is that yours? Is that for me? One's for you, one's for me.
I don't know why everybody leaves the minutes. I
What?
don't know why everybody leaves when we're ready to go to meeting.
I know it.
Minutes, but we are going to go to non-public.
We're good.
I'd leave if I could get leave
Hey, don't they want to
before
have,
starting the
don't they
middle.
want to hear how history changes?
Yeah.
Is that it, Scott? You looking for more?
No, no, well, there were some from prior ones, but I think you already have those. Yeah. All right. All right.
I'll make a motion to enter into non-public under RSA 91-A:3, Roman 2, A and C. If you don't mind, I'm putting together.
A and C.
Yeah, one is compensation, the other one's reputation.
I'll second that.
All right, Swin seconds that. All those in favor? Swins
Aye.
is aye, Bickford is aye.
Anthony says aye.
All right.
And the time is,
10:08.
yep, you're correct.
Whatever you know me not to be.
So we need to go
Shut down.
upstairs.
You shut the door.